Westwood One Sports presents to you the most unique show in sports.
I'm going to say something now that some may take as a hot take, and I don't really care because I know that I'm right.
A show so staggeringly awesome and unapologetically original, you won't know what hit you.
Do you ever just get down on your knees and thank God that you know me and have access to my dementia?
Featuring the man himself, Nick Kostos.
For anyone else who says, oh, he's exaggerating, he's prisoner of the moment. First off, shut up. This is the National Football League. This is not the Big 12. It's not Pop Warner. An absolute disgrace. An atrocity. An affront. One of the most disgraceful performances that I have ever seen in 35 years watching National Football League football.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry, wonderful Football Wednesday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports. As we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this Wednesday, this wonderful Wednesday, the world of sports is buzzing. And we're going to get to all the big stories, including the one NFL head coaching candidate, the one above them all, that absolutely needs to get a job this cycle. And if he doesn't, it will be a miscarriage of justice. Who is that coach? And why do I feel so strongly about it? I will explain coming up later in the show. And look, it might be a wonderful football Wednesday, but last night, Tuesday night, in the association, the NBA. Oh, we had a newsworthy night in the NBA. The Oklahoma City Thunder, as the kids would say, got their lick back against the San Antonio Spurs. Are the Thunder #back? I have a strong opinion on that I can't wait to share with you. And this burgeoning rivalry with Wemby and Chet Holmgren, we will talk about that. And wait until you, the listener, you, the viewer, wait until you hear, if you haven't already, wait until you hear what Giannis Antetokounmpo said and did to the home crowd last night in Milwaukee as the Bucks got blown out by the Anthony Edwards-less Minnesota Timberwolves. That has me feeling like he's got 3 weeks left, potentially, as a Milwaukee Buck. A very, very newsy night in the NBA. We will get to the big stories. 3 tremendous guests will join us over the course of this Wednesday on You Better You Bet. Danny Parkins, first things first on Fox Sports 1, who was sitting in the first row with his orange Chicago Bears robe on Saturday night for Bears-Packers. Watched his Bears win an electric game against their hated rival. Danny will join us to talk Bears, Rams, and the rest of the comings and goings in the National Football League. Man, I've gotten a ton of tweets, a ton of messages. Where is the whale capper, Drew Dinsick? You Better You Bet favorite. And if you've never heard whale before, you've never seen whale before, if you're new to this show, thank you very much for joining us in our new time slot on this new network. You are going to love the information provided by our friend Drew Dinsick, who returns to You Better You Bet next hour, talking the NFL playoffs, talking the NBA. Drew's best bets coming up for the divisional round of the NFL postseason. And in the final hour, in the power hour, my buddy Adam Lefko from Turner Sports, who in my estimation is going to go down as one of, if not the, best studio hosts in the history of sports television. The great Adam Lefko will join us in the final hour of the show to talk the NFL playoffs, talk some NBA, talk some college basketball, where he anchors Turner's college basketball coverage. Adam Lefko will join us in the final hour of the show today. All my bets for the night in sports, also in the final hour, in the power hour. I've got at least one bet in the NBA. Oh, and I love my bet tonight in college basketball. And I'll just tell you, it emanates from the Big Ten. We have one sole home on YouTube now. YouTube.com/@thekostos. YouTube.com/@THEKOSTOS. We urge you to subscribe there. We're going to have tons of YouTube content, YouTube exclusive content. YouTube.com/@thekostos to watch the show on YouTube. Subscribe there, like and comment. I will be in the comments during the show today. Again, YouTube.com/@thekostos. And the phone number to chime in today, 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910. We officially begin Wonderful Football Wednesday edition of You Better You Bet with the biggest news in the world of sports as Mike Tomlin steps down yesterday as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers after a 19-year run in the Steel City. And what a run it was. Famously, 0 losing seasons for Mike Tomlin in nearly 2 decades in charge of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The winner of Super Bowl 43 and an appearance in Super Bowl 45. And this feels like the rare instance in sports where everybody wins. Well, everybody except for one person wins as a result of this move. We will talk about that one person coming up later this hour. But this is like the opposite of the REM song, Everybody Hurts. Instead, this is Everybody Wins Sometimes. And let's start with the man himself, Coach Mike Tomlin. It was time. It was time for this to happen. And you, the listener, you, the viewer, you can certainly make the case that it's been time. That it's been time for a couple years for this to happen. And look, I don't think anybody would have batted an eyelash. Now, we could have disagreed with it, but I don't think anyone's going nuclear, right? Like, if the Eagles had brought back Kevin Patullo, which they didn't, we'll get to that later in the show, people would have absolutely lost their freaking minds if Kevin Patullo had come back. Like, that's a no-brainer. That's a non-negotiable. Now, whether or not you would disagree with Mike Tomlin coming back for 2026, I don't think anyone would have gone nuclear as a result of Mike Tomlin coming back. I actually felt like that's what was going to happen, that Mike Tomlin would return as Steelers head coach. He has earned that equity where, whether you agree or disagree with it, no one's going to blow their top and lose their mind if Mike Tomlin comes back. But with that being said, it's time. And I think it's been time. And you can say that maybe it was time after the Steelers lost at home in the 2020 wild card round on Sunday Night Football to Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. I personally think that the cleanest break would have been when they lost and got blown out and doubled up by the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2021 wild card round at Arrowhead, 42-21, in what was Ben Roethlisberger's final game in the National Football League, where Ben rides off into the sunset and Mike Tomlin departs as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This, with Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is like a romantic relationship, right? That didn't go sour. There's no acrimony. There was no cheating, no lying, no yelling, no bad blood. Just like a couple, and maybe you've been in this scenario in your life. You know someone that's been in this scenario in your life. Like Dave Mason sang, there ain't no good guys, there ain't no bad guys. There's only you and me, and we just disagree. Great song. Tomlin and the Steelers are like a couple that gradually fell out of love, that drifted apart, that quote-unquote, and I've heard this one before in relationships in my life, wanted different things. They tried to make it work, and there is nobility in that effort. In my estimation, you can disagree with that or agree with that. That's my opinion. There's nobility in the effort. But we have reached a point. We reached a point where this was absolutely necessary. And it was the right time. For Mike Tomlin, he got to go out on his own terms. Now, we talk about sports on this show, right? But I often think that sports are like an allegory for life, right? Like the life experience, the human experience. So we can extend this out from sports to life. How many people in life get to go out on their own terms? Like we've all lived long enough to see it one way or another, right? It feels like it doesn't happen that often. To ride into a sunset, not the sunset like the permanent sunset, but to ride into a sunset on your own terms. And he has left in Pittsburgh the hero. And like the saying goes, you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And make no bones about it, and this was reported yesterday, right? One of the reasons why Mike Tomlin might have wanted to no longer coach the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was slowly becoming the villain. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And we don't have to go back that long ago in time to know that this is true. November 30th, at home against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills roll into Pittsburgh and absolutely paste the Steelers in that game and run it down their throats, and the offense can't do anything. And if you recall, this was not that long ago. Today is January 14th. Last November 30th, the fans in Pittsburgh were chanting, "Fire Tomlin." The fans in Pittsburgh were booing Renegade. Which is a great song. You should never stick. That's a great song, man. Oh, Mom. You should never, ever, ever boo Renegade. So instead of fully becoming the villain and turning into like Pittsburgh's version of the Joker, Mike Tomlin leaves the hero. And he also departs from what had become a vicious, vicious cycle. And not like a cycle of acrimony, but one that fed into what is both an uncomfortable and incontrovertible truth. You cannot question it. You can dislike it, but you can't question it. And that truth is that the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin could not win. They couldn't win. And now Mike Tomlin's out of that cycle. In life, we talk about cycles as our lives go on, right? Breaking the cycle as you get older in life, whatever that cycle is. The cycle that Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers have been in is far less dramatic than some of those. But from a football perspective, it's as dramatic and important as it gets. Their cycle is the cycle of 9-8. The cycle of 10-7. The cycle of the 7 seed or the 4 seed that gets their ass handed to them on a silver platter in round number 1, like the Houston Texans did on Monday night in Pittsburgh against the Steelers. The cycle of scraping and clawing and scratching into the wild card rounds, only to get absolutely eviscerated and obliterated and dominated and embarrassed. Embarrassed. And you can make the case, and you'd be right, that Mike Tomlin is as big a culprit of this cycle as anyone else in the Pittsburgh Steelers universe. Because in football, as in life, it takes 2 to tango. So yeah, like it's Tomlin and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers that have fed into the cycle. And just to say this, because my daughter is the center of my universe, Tango, who's Elmo's dog, is her current favorite character in Sesame Street. She loves Tango. Tango wasn't even a thing when I was a kid. Now it's like, let's give Elmo a dog. Tango's the name of the dog. My daughter loves Tango. I just wanted to say that. And if you don't like that I said it, I don't know what to tell you, because I like to talk about my daughter here on the show. So Mike Tomlin now, maybe he takes a year off. Maybe he goes to do television, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And when the time comes, if he so chooses, and remember, I think a lot of people think Mike Tomlin's going back to coaching at some point. Like, we thought the same about Bill Cowher. And Bill Cowher never went back. So maybe Mike Tomlin does TV, and he's like, you know what, I just want to do this forever. Possible, right? We'll see. But whatever Mike Tomlin decides to do, he has won. He has broken and left the cycle of 9-8 and 10-7 in Pittsburgh. And he will either be paid handsomely to talk about football on television or go and choose the next head coaching job he wants, probably one with a young established quarterback. He is a huge winner in all of this. A huge winner. And maybe now, in his next job, if he takes one, maybe the cycle can be one of 12-5 or 13-4, which was never happening in Pittsburgh with this iteration of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that takes us to the Steelers. Because if it takes two to tango, the Steelers organization is the other dance partner here, along with Tomlin, that has led them to this cycle of 9-8, the cycle of 10-7, which is basically the equivalent of football purgatory. Not good enough to ever seriously contend to win a Super Bowl championship, but never bad enough to bottom out and replenish the roster or get a young stud quarterback. They have been in football purgatory for a long-ass time. Certainly, you can argue in the last decade, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been in the football wilderness, where, you can make the case it would have served them well to have gone 2-15 one season, as opposed to 9-8, or 8-8, or 9-7, or 9-6-1, etc. The Pittsburgh Steelers can no longer be a team that tries to do this, that tries to win when you can't win, because there are degrees to winning. They need to break the cycle right now. Football and sports, like life, and I don't think I'm the most wise person in the world, but I think I'm 42 years old. I think I've done decently for myself. I think I'm a pretty good guy. Try to give young people advice. Life is not checkers. Life is chess. And in life and sports, like in chess, you can strategically and purposefully have a step backwards because you know that a couple moves down the board, you can have checkmate. You can win the game or put yourself in a greater position to win the game. Life is not just what's in front of you, and let me hit this here. Let's go to the playoffs again next year. Let's go 9-8. Let's go 10-7. Let's compete. Let's compete for the division championship. No. Maybe you take a step back so that you can checkmate, that you can win the Super Bowl in 3 years, which they can't do right now on the path that they are on. They absolutely can't do it. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's a lot's going to be made of this, right? This is the best. I actually don't think it's as good a coaching vacancy as Baltimore. Baltimore has Lamar Jackson. The Steelers don't have a quarterback right now. And let me be clear on this. So much is made of the Steelers and the Rooney family and all the stability that they've had over 4 decades now with Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. The only 3 coaches, right? In the Super Bowl era, 3 coaches. And they've all won championships, all 3 of them. Chuck Noll had Terry Bradshaw, Hall of Famer. Cowher didn't win until he had Ben Roethlisberger, and I know it's been in year 2, but look at what he developed into, and they went 15-1 his rookie year, right? Mike Tomlin didn't draft Ben Roethlisberger. He inherited Ben and won a Super Bowl. And this is not to imply that Noll, Cowher, and Tomlin aren't great coaches. It's not. I mean, but did Bill Cowher win a Super Bowl with Neil O'Donnell? Or Tommy Maddox? Or Cordell Stewart? Or did it take Ben Roethlisberger to get him over the hump? You need a quarterback. So yeah, do the Steelers need to get it right in terms of the head coach? Of course they do, obviously. But what's more important is that they get it right at quarterback. And you couldn't go into this offseason with Mike Tomlin, given that Tomlin and this regime have picked Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Mason Rudolph, even Duck Hodges. You can't have this. You need some new blood and a new voice to pick a new quarterback to send this team into a new generation and a new cycle. A cycle that at least provides you with the chance to win a Lombardi trophy, which is the point of all of this, especially for that organization. And it's a chance that they haven't had in the last decade under Mike Tomlin. We're just getting started here on this wonderful Football Wednesday. On the other side, there's one other group, one other facet of all of this that wins as a result of Mike Tomlin resigning as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to tell you who it is coming up next, and you, the listener, and you, the viewer, are going to absolutely love it. And there is also a loser that we have to discuss. One loser above all else. I'll tell you who it is and why. Coming up next, You Better You Bet, Westwood One Sports with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM.
Here's an interception for good measure. It's picked off by Bullock. And Rodgers is in his way, trying to make the tackle. Can't. And it's a touchdown, Texans.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman with the call on Monday night. Oh, man. Well, we'll start with the positive. All my Christian Kirk bets were amazing. Looked like Jerry Rice in that game on Monday night. As far as my Pittsburgh Steelers bets, as a famous philosopher once said, not my best work. Danny Parkins, First Things First on Fox Sports 1, will join us about 10 minutes from now. Very much look forward to that. The whale capper, Drew Dinsick, returns to You Better You Bet to start next hour. Comments are flooding in on YouTube, youtube.com/@thekostos, TheKostos. Follow the show there, youtube.com/@thekostos, TheKostos. And if you want to call and chime in on Mike Tomlin and why I think everybody won in this Tomlin stepping down, or if you think I'm wrong, 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910. The last group that wins as a result of Mike Tomlin stepping down yesterday. And I think you're all going to agree with me here. Like, this is one where sometimes I'll give a take and I'm like, I know I'm right. But, people can disagree. That's okay. I don't know if anyone's going to disagree with this. The last group of people that wins as a result of Mike Tomlin stepping down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, us. You and me. Why? Because this is where sometimes I'll say, I'll talk about soccer on the show sometimes. I don't know how many people in the audience care about soccer. I feel confident in saying that 100% of the audience of this show, 100%, are football fans who watch football on television. And if you're a football fan and you watch football on television, we think Mike Tomlin's going to television, right? Like, I have been told by people, I'm not reporting anything, it's not 100%, but it's out there as well. I got told also, I'm not trying to break any news, but just saying, I think this is going to happen, that Mike Tomlin's going to Fox. I don't know what role he's going to be in, but that Mike Tomlin will be on TV next season. And if that's true, all of our viewing experiences just got that much better watching the NFL on TV. We have talked about for years, not just us on this show, anybody that watches football, how entertaining Mike Tomlin is. And all the Tomlinisms. Excuses are the tools of the incompetent. The standard is the standard. When asked if Tyler Loop had missed the field goal, last Sunday night in the final regular season game, if my aunt had, man parts, she'd be my uncle. He's got unbelievable lines, right? And he obviously has a great wit and great football knowledge and charisma out the wazoo. Now we get to watch him on television. And with some guy, I would say with the vast majority of people, you never know how it's going to actually go on television. Like, some of you may be too young to remember, when Joe Montana retired, he got a job with NBC, like to be an analyst, right? And he was terrible. He was awful to the point that he left. That it didn't work. Everyone thought Montana would be awesome. It's not to say he was not one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. He was bad at TV. Drew Brees in his first go-around wasn't that good. Took some time, and now he's back, and I hope it goes great for Drew Brees. Tony Romo seemed like he was John Madden in year one. And now it feels like he should be calling ACC games on ESPN The Ocho. Mike Tomlin feels like this is, how could he possibly be bad? How in the world is Mike Tomlin not going to be aces on television immediately? And that's awesome for us, because we all watch the NFL on TV. A little later in the show, I'll talk about what I think the Pittsburgh Steelers need to do moving forward to kind of get themselves out of the cycle of 9-8, the cycle of 10-7, and get themselves back to a championship position moving forward. But last note for this hour on this topic from me before Danny Parkins joins us next. There's one big loser as a result of all of this. And that loser, and I'm sure that a lot of you have been able to guess who it is Aaron Rodgers. If Mike Tomlin had chosen to return, Mike Tomlin's coming back for 2026. There's at least what? like a 50% chance Aaron Rodgers is back also, as the cycle of 9-8, the cycle of 10-7 perpetuates, right? Where we need to compete. Like, we can't bottom out. We can't be bad. We have to be good. So let's bring back 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers. He turns 43 next year. 50% chance Rodgers is back if Rodgers even wanted to come back. Now, it feels like he's done. Who is coming to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers that will say to the Rooneys and say to Omar Khan, I want Aaron Rodgers to be my quarterback in 2026? It's not happening. Like 0% of candidates will say that. Zero will say that. And if that's true, can you, the listener, you, the viewer, think of a team that will sign Aaron Rodgers to be their quarterback next season? Does that team exist? I say no. I have said for a long time on this show, I like Aaron Rodgers. And I'm never going to try and convince anyone that doesn't like him that they should like him. I like him. I find him entertaining. And he's one of the best quarterbacks of my lifetime and of the Super Bowl era, indisputably. You cannot argue against that. I don't think we're going to have to eulogize the head coaching career of Mike Tomlin anytime soon. My guess is he'll be back in coaching, but maybe he goes the Cowher route. We'll see. We won't have to eulogize Mike Tomlin's coaching career anytime soon, in my estimation. But I think Mike Tomlin stepping down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers means that we are probably months away, maybe less, from eulogizing the NFL career of one of the all-time greats. How in the world is Aaron Rodgers on an NFL roster in 2026? He is the one sole loser as a result of this news. Mike Tomlin stepping down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll take a quick break, and on the other side, our friend Danny Parkins, First Things First on Fox Sports 1, joins to talk Tomlin, talk Ravens, and talk the divisional round of the postseason, including his Chicago Bears on Westwood One Sports.
Soldier Field. Hearts beating furiously. It's dropped. Love looking. One last gasp. Moving guys around. Fires to the end zone. And it is broken up. The Bears win it. And a crazy one.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
Look, if you're betting on the NBA this season, something that'll take the pressure off your picks, the NBA No Sweat Token. You don't need to sweat if your bet doesn't hit. You'll get your stake back in bonus bets up to $1,000. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. Al Michaels with the call Saturday night on Amazon Prime. Just a couple notes on that call for a moment. Al brought his fastball on Saturday night. That was one of the best games Al Michaels has called in years. He was sensational. And you can hear how loud the crowd was at Soldier Field during that final play. And it's almost drowning Al Michaels out. What a viewing experience it was. And what an experience we had in the last few minutes in the break where we couldn't get Danny's audio right, his microphone wasn't right. And at the end, with like 10 seconds to spare, Danny, like his quarterback, Caleb Williams, coming through in the clutch. Are you the new Iceman? Danny Parkins joins us on the show. First things first on Fox Sports 1. Welcome to the show, my friend. Congratulations on your Bears.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a gamer. I'm a fourth quarter player. I'm clutch. I'm always going to deliver when it matters most. That was a spectacular sporting event to be at live. Like, it was just like the stars line was like, it's on a Saturday. I can fly in Saturday morning, fly back Sunday morning, not miss any of the other games. Go to Bears-Packers, first row behind the Bears bench, like literally in line with where Caleb Williams sits on the bench. I was like over his shoulder with my nephew, then was able to get some extra tickets and bring some lifelong friends. It was a truly special thing. I'm not a very religious person, but I said that was like a sports religious experience. It was great.
I listen, sport. I've said for a long time, have I? Sports could cure atheism. I'm not so sure that's true. So aside from just like from that, right, the Bears winning at the end, it's an all-time sporting event to be at, not just for you, if you're a lifelong Bears fan, period, to be at that game with everything that went into it, exercising some of the demons in green and gold with the Green Bay Packers. Kind of take us through it, right? From the first half to the second half, it looked like they were dead, and then they weren't, and then they win. Take us through the fan experience during the totality of the game.
Man, listen, the tailgate is rocking, right? And everyone's doing like Green Bay sucks chants because but Green Bay sucks chants will break out at Blackhawks games or at Cubs games. Like that's like our love language in Chicago. And then we go in and we want to get into the game because getting into Soldier Field's a train wreck and we have awesome seats. So we want to get in early, and we're in early and it becomes a snow globe. Like, it's just like the flurries and the snow and all the stuff that you saw on social media that they showed on the broadcast. It was like, oh my God, this is. And
by the way, it was you, by the way. I feel like it was your tweets. I'm not just saying this because you're on the show right now. Like, it was your tweets that kind of went viral on Saturday night, right? With it being a snow globe prior to the game starting.
Yeah, well, because the broadcast wasn't on. No one was, people were still locked into Rams-Panthers. Like, we were watching that on our phone from the stands, but we wanted to be in for warm-ups, again, because of the quality of our seats. So, yeah, like, I think I probably was, like, the first person to let people know, like, oh, my God, this looks like we could have a snow game. Then the Bears and Packers get into, like, a beef at midfield. And I'm right there, and I footage that and put it out, again, because people weren't watching yet. And so it was like, okay, this is, like, a heavyweight fight. Right, like this is just like you have the scene, the drop back, the stakes, the animosity, the whole thing, and then Jordan Love just comes out and curb stomps the Bears in the first half. And I think the lowest I got in any of those videos was like, this is a disaster because there was so much built into it. But I will say, when McManus missed the field goal at the end of the second quarter and the Bears are down 21-3, I'm not going to say like I called the comeback, but we were talking about like, all right, Packers get the ball to start the third quarter, get a stop, and then let's see if Caleb can do his magic. Because there had been 6 fourth quarter comebacks already. Like, and Kostos, I know this is weird, but like just not thinking the game was over when the Bears were down 21-3 was such a win. Like just having like, oh, we have a coach and a quarterback who conceptually could do this. I was at the Andrew Luck comeback against the Chiefs when it was the 28-point comeback, which at the time was the largest playoff.
48-45 on Wild Card Weekend. Yep, following the 13 season.
Right, when Jamal Charles gets the concussion, Andrew Luck fumbles, recovers it, takes it into the end zone. Like I've been at a game with a bigger comeback, the biggest playoff comeback, the whole thing. So we're talking about it. Then things just kind of it wasn't even like a perfect storm. The Bears weren't perfect in the second half, certainly not in the third quarter, but it just started happening, and the defense got better, and Jacobs couldn't run anymore, and then when you give up the touchdown and you're down 27-16 and they miss the extra point, even in that spot, you're like, okay, not 2 touchdown game. Touchdown, 2-point conversion, stop, field goal. And Caleb's throw, I'm at the 48-yard line. He makes that throw from like the 32.
The Odunze throw on 4th and 8.
Yeah, but he's rolling.
Like a top 10 throw of all time, I think, in that spot.
Correct. But he's rolling towards the Bears bench. So he's rolling towards me, but I'm like, I have to look to my right to see Caleb because it's in the middle of where my viewing area. So I'm looking to the right to see Caleb. And when he makes the throw, my periphery, I was like, no one's there. And then you turn to your left and you're like, oh, it's got the distance. Odunze is there. And he catches it. And we go ballistic, but I was like almost surprised. Like, I felt like it was going to be the type of thing that I was going to have to make the argument for the degree of difficulty of the throw. But like in the moment, they're down 11 and it's not a touchdown. So I'm like, well, if they lose, that throw's going to be lost to history. But then obviously everything that happens. Zacchaeus, the 2-point conversion, getting the ball back, the unbelievable throw to DJ Moore on the great play call from Ben Johnson. And we're walking out of the stadium chanting Green Bay sucks again, talking about the throw to Odunze. Like, I wonder if people are going to remember the throw to Odunze, because we haven't seen the highlights. We've got no cell service. And then by the time we get back to the spot, people are saying it's the greatest throw in the history of football. I'm like, oh my God, the Bears quarterback has the best throw in the history of football. They just had this comeback. Like, it was so incredible and exercising of demons. And then you find out that we're chanting Green Bay sucks, but Ben Johnson said F the Packers.
Yeah.
He took an East Coast Yankees Red Sox level of cursing and injected into our Midwest nice rivalry, something I've been waiting for my entire life. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. By far the best Bears game I've ever been to, the most enjoyable Bears win of my life. Top 5 sporting event that I've ever attended. It was unbelievable. It really was.
I wasn't going to go here with the Ben Johnson stuff until you mentioned it. And I was actually surprised by how many people were offended by, I'm not even talking Dick Vitale. It's whatever.
People are idiots. People are idiots.
Is this and then what I'd like for you to explain to the national audience, right? Because maybe it's because I'm from New York and I'm I think this is awesome. I love it. Is this just Midwestern, people from the Midwest are just kinder and we shouldn't do that? Where does the pushback come from here? I thought it was awesome.
Listen, I think most Chicagoans did like it, but yeah, I think there is some Midwest nice to it. I always say Chicago's we're the third biggest city. But in the meanness or the competitiveness of sports fans, there's New York, Philly, and Boston. And then Chicago's the team captain of everybody else. We've got a tough media, but we are slower to boo than New York, Philly, and Boston. We are again, Green Bay sucks, not F the Packers. We
right. Yeah.
That's I think that's a really good way of describing the difference. So I think there's some of that. But one of my bedrock principles in doing what we do is less hate in the world, more hate in sports. Trash talk is good. It's good. Hating your opponent, having rivalries, being cold, bulletin board material, pregame jawing, the occasional penalty, post-game press conferences, that generates interest and drama. It's okay. It's okay. This is professional sports. And people are well, think of the children. If you're going to emulate, they're going to do the bat flips in Little League. Well, then parents better. You know what I mean? This is professional sports. And so it is incredible that the Bears don't like the Packers now, and their coach is willing to say it. But also, the last thing on this rivalry specifically, like, because Ben Johnson, when he defended it on Monday, he was like, I talked to George McCaskey, the owner of the Bears, and he's like, we're on the same page. People do need to understand, like, the Packers have no owners. The fans own the team. And the Bears are owned by fans. Virginia McCaskey, who just passed away, was George Halas's daughter. Like, you know, like, this is not a tech billionaire. This is not a finance bro. These are just people. They're just Bears fans who are descendants of George Halas, who hate their rival, who are owned by fans. So it's a very unique rivalry in that way, and it's good if they don't like each other, because they've also never been good at the same time. And I know you wanted to talk about other things, and I'm going off on a tangent here.
Oh, it's great.
Like, it's better or worse is for other people to describe. Like, Ravens Steelers has been a more competitive rivalry. Yankees Red Sox is more famous. But Bears Packers is the oldest rivalry in football, and the teams historically are never good at the same time. So that was the 213th time they had ever played each other, only the third time in the playoffs, the 2010 NFC Championship game, and when George Halas played Curly Lambeau in 1941, and then this game on Saturday. So, like, it was special, and I love that there's some real animosity there.
And I would just say, if anyone disagrees with that, just think about it like this. Let's just say, Bears Pack. I'm making this up, right? Bears Packers is the Week 1 Sunday Night Football game next season, and Matt LaFleur is back in Green Bay. Even if he's not, how much more juice there is in the proceedings now to a rivalry that's already historic? How much more fun it's going to be moving forward now with Ben Johnson having poked the bear? I love it.
No doubt.
You better you bet on this Wednesday. Danny Parkin's our guest. First things first on Fox Sports 1. Catch him today, national TV, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. There's so much to do. I guess we should probably talk about Bears-Rams coming up on Sunday, where it's going to be freezing, and the Bears are home underdogs. What do you think, Danny, we will see in the Bears and the Rams?
Listen, I mean, Matt Stafford could throw for 6,000 yards in this game. Like, that maybe is a little high, but, like, legitimately, I think the playoff record is in play. The Bears secondary is not good. Jalen Johnson is playing, but clearly is not 100%. Kyler Gordon, as mentioned on the broadcast a million times, finally came back and played and was trailing all game. Like, the Bears don't really generate a pass rush. Did better in the second half, but the Bears are going to need to win a shootout. The hope is that Caleb and Ben Johnson are equipped to win a shootout. I think they are. The Rams defense has been bad since week 11, basically, allowing about 28 a game. And you mentioned the cold. Like, I was at the game in 2018 when the Rams came to Soldier Field and it was freezing and the Bears
famous
won.
Game. Vic Fangio, broke the Sean McVay offense for the first time and gave Bill Belichick the blueprint to do it in the Super Bowl.
Exactly right. And the Bears won 15-6. And the cold there was a factor. So, like, older quarterback, not mobile, sub-zero temperatures. Like, the Bears' offensive line, I know for a fact, is not pleased with how they played in the run game against the Packers. They expected to have much more success on the ground against Green Bay than they did. I expect Ben Johnson to try to do that again against the Rams. Yes, to keep Matt Stafford on the sideline, but to just make everybody a little uncomfortable and miserable with how cold it is. And maybe a little bit of gamesmanship again. Maybe those heaters on the sideline for the Rams go out again. Maybe have those malfunction again.
We only have 90 seconds left here. I really wanted to tweak you a little bit on Justin Herbert. He was really bad. He was terrible. But I love the emotion of sports, right? And being sports fans. And I would say to everyone listening or watching the show right now, even if you're not a Bears fan, I get goosebumps in moments like this, and I'm not a Bears fan. So when Kenny plays coming back from break, the final play, and Jordan Love scrambling around, and when that ball's in the air, the knowledge that this is going one of two ways, and there is going to be finality here. It is going to end one way or another in short order. I think I have the chills right now, just as a sports fan, even if I'm not a Bear. And I bet the Packers in the game, and I lost my bet on the game, right? You take us through in about...
them.
I did. I abandoned the Bears, and I abandoned the Packers because screw them and fire Matt LaFleur. I actually don't think they should. Take me through 30 to 45 seconds. We're running out of time. The emotions that you felt as Jordan Love is scrambling and that ball's in the air on the final play.
I mean, it was an eternity. It was like the play lasted like 6.5 seconds and it felt like 6.5 hours. Listen, I mean, I have my nephew to my left. My dad's family is from Wisconsin, so he's a Packer fan. And then I'm with all Bears fans, and one of my lifelong friends is to my right. And I'm just like, I grabbed both of their forearms. He was like, you were bracing yourself if you were a nervous flyer on an airplane during turbulence, and they were my armrests. Like, I'm just like squeezing there. And then like the ball drops, there's no flag. I turn to my nephew and just give him like a little playful shove. He's the one who has to film me for the content because, you got to. And then I start punching all my friends and just celebrating. It was beautiful. It was incredible.
First things first, Fox Sports 1 coming up today, weekdays 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern, at Danny Parkins on Twitter. Appreciate you, my friend. Bear down.
Bear down, baby.
I like the Rams on Sunday. Hour 1 done, Hour 2 for you. Come on, sorry, buddy. On the other side, Drew Dinsick, the whale capper, kicks it off next.
Last thing I'll say. Our producer, Brandon Combs, put in the rundown. Will Pat Boyle get a Bears tattoo if the Bears win the Super Bowl like he predicts? Sure. You got a deal. Game on. I will get it. I will get a tattoo. I'll get a tattoo. Whatever Combs wants to do. Brandon,
where it's gonna go, Pat?
I'll put it on probably on my ass so nobody sees it.
Okay.
But Brandon, you can draw up this puppy however you want. Whatever tattoo you want to get for me to put on my body, I will do it. If the Bears win the Super Bowl, you have yourself a show bet here on BetMGM tonight. How do you like that?
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Do it live on the air if we can. I'll get a tattoo artist pull up right next to me here. You guys see my cheeks? That's probably not legal, but what's the next best thing?
This isn't going to be no Mario Heron tattoo either. You're actually going to get this damn thing done.
Yeah, I'm not a little, squeak sissy like Mario who chickened out of it. I will get the tattoo if the Bears win the Super Bowl. That's a guarantee.
The biggest names in the business are on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening, as you do every day, to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Brought to you by BetMGM.
The wonderful Football Wednesday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our crew, and whoever the hell you are, here on Westwood One Sports. First hour of the show devoted to Mike Tomlin stepping down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why I think this is a win-win for everybody. For Tomlin, for the Steelers, and for us as sports fans. Because by all accounts, he's going to Fox, and he is going to be sensational on television. And love the interview to end the hour with Danny Parkins from First Things First on Fox Sports 1. The emotion of sports fans. Danny, lifelong fan of the Chicago Bears, being at the game on Saturday night at Soldier Field as his team exercising the demons in green and yellow. Job not done for the Bears, and I think the Rams will beat them coming up on Sunday at Soldier Field. But what an experience that was, and loved hearing Danny recount it for us here on this Wednesday on You Better You Bet. Later this hour, we will talk about Kevin Patullo being fired by the Philadelphia Eagles and why that is just a half measure for Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. More work to be done to improve things for Philadelphia heading into next season. And we'll also touch on this piece of news coming down moments ago from Jordan Renan of ESPN, that former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh meeting in person today with my New York Football Giants. So that's all coming up a little later in the show. Adam Lefkoe next hour from Turner Sports. For joining us right now. And I said it in the first hour. I've gotten a lot of notes from longtime listeners and fans like, hey, when are you going to get this person back on the show? Are you going to do this on the show? And I think we have largely checked off a lot of those boxes. I think the biggest one might be this one. I have gotten so many Instagram messages, tweets, texts. When is Drew Dinsick, when is the whale capper going to be back on You Better You Bet? I swear on my daughter I'm not making this up. Because Drew's here listening to me say this right now. I'm not saying this to gas him up. Joining us back here on the show, NBC sports betting analyst, co-host of the Deep Dive Pod, and if you've never heard, Drew has some of the best information out there, breaking down games, specifically the NFL and the NBA. I love it. On social media at whale_capper. My friend, welcome back to the show. Thanks for waking up early, Drew, on the West Coast. And happy divisional round of the NFL playoffs, my friend, to you and yours.
Oh, yeah, man. Dude, this is a crazy time in sports. There's so much going on in the NFL right now. The NBA is hot. Australian Open's about to kick off. Olympics are around the corner. I have a lot of Olympic handicapping to catch up on. This is I don't think I'm going to sleep for the rest of January.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely love it. And I actually saw our mutual friend Ken Barkley reply to a tweet you made over the last couple of days. Like, this is such a you reply, meaning to Drew. Only Drew would toss out the Olympics and the Australian Open here with heading into division. And I mean that as a compliment, heading into the divisional weekend of the NFL playoffs. So here's what I'd love to do. And for the audience right now, because we have a bigger audience now here on Westwood One Sports. So people are listening to the show that haven't heard you before, watching the show that haven't heard you before. So Drew, as I've said, has some of the best information out there. I want to hit all 4 playoff games this weekend, get your handicap, who you think's going to win, cover the spread, go over, under the total, etc. And then we'll talk some NBA as well, maybe some coaching stuff in the NFL if time permits. So let's go in chronological order. And let's start on Saturday, Drew, with the Broncos and the Bills in Denver, where at BetMGM, pick'em price of the game, total of 46. I'm going to bet the Buffalo Bills. I have no idea who you like in the game. What do you think we see with the Bills and the Broncos?
I took a shot on the Broncos before a flip favorite, which I agree. The current price, we're getting pretty close to my fair here. I think the Bills they're certainly the higher ceiling team because Josh Allen is the best quarterback remaining in the playoffs. However, what Denver's kind of advantage in here is, and what the market I think is slowly realizing, is that the rest and the home field advantage in this spot is worth at least 2.5, maybe 3 points. Buffalo coming in with a myriad of injuries that all kind of matter. They're effectively down to so little talent in the wide receiver room that I would expect that they come in with a pretty heavy package plan as far as offensive game planning goes. A lot of 12, maybe even some 13 personnel from them. We'll see. They are that lean at wide receiver right now. Denver's defense obviously can rush the passer extremely well. And honestly, I can't fault anyone for betting on Buffalo here and just trying to ride the Josh Allen ride as long as it exists, because it's a very fun ride to be on. I was against Buffalo last week, and at no point during the game did I ever feel like the lead for the Jags was safe. I think that just in general, having him in your corner is obviously a good thing. That said, this is a brutal spot for them. Turning around and traveling for the second consecutive week with this many injuries, and going up against a very healthy squad that is at full strength coming off the bye is just brutal. So if this was a completely neutral game in a neutral setting, I'd probably have a very different opinion. But with the injuries and with the rest advantage, I went Denver.
So with all that being said, Drew, I'm guessing if you think that, then a lot of smart people, a lot of people with influence in the betting market probably agree with you. And this is a strict betting question, right? So people like me, like the Buffalo Bills, think Josh Allen's going to lead them to victory in this game. Is it your anticipation that as we approach kickoff on Saturday, that the market will move up towards Denver, that Denver will close will close a favorite, get into the 2? I don't think it will ever be 3, obviously. But do you think Denver's going to get bet? And I'm asking this for people out there listening and watching. If you like Buffalo, should people wait to bet the Bills in your estimation?
Yeah, I think in general, the cold sides from last week that won are going to be cold again. That includes Buffalo. You had a pretty aggressive support for Jacksonville into the close on Sunday last week. I would think you get pretty aggressive support for Denver into the close this week. And again, I don't love Denver. I begrudgingly respect Sean Payton. I think their defense is probably a little overrated by the market. It's good. It's not like all universe. Their greatest strength might be Patrick Surtain, who's going to wipe out wide receiver 4 on a normal team for this Buffalo squad. Like it's not clear that most of their advantages are advantages. I don't like Bo Nix really at all, but if I want to say anything positive about Bo Nix, I guess I could say at least he doesn't put the ball in harm's way. Like Trevor Lawrence puts the ball in harm's way, which is one of the reasons that game never really felt especially comfortable being on the Jags. But I would be a little bit surprised if Bo Nix is loosey-goosey playing turnover football here, just because when he is usually throwing downfield, he is putting it in a place where it is tough for his own receiver to make the play on the ball, let alone the defense. And so I think in general, Denver gets this done on the ground, really push their advantage in terms of their offensive line and their strength and their size, and win in the trenches on both sides. And if Buffalo wins this game, I'm not going to be surprised, and I'm probably going to be mad at myself for lining up and betting on Bo Nix and Sean Payton.
Drew Dinsick, the Whale Capper, with us here on You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, NBC sports betting analyst, deep dive podcast. For those interested, check it out with Drew and Andy Molitor. Great sports betting podcast on Twitter at Whale_Capper. Saturday night game, my friend, in your neck of the woods on the West Coast, with the Seahawks a 7.5-point home favorite against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, we may see this drop back down to 7 at BetMGM. It's a juiced 7.5 towards the Niners. But one way or another, like betting market thinks Seattle wins this one fairly easily. Total in the game is 45. Do you see it that way? Because it'll be 2 weeks to the day that Seattle went into San Francisco and stuffed the Niners in a locker to win the NFC West and claim home field advantage. What do you like, Niners and Seahawks Saturday night?
Yeah, this is another one where I think the market was a little slow on the uptick on how valuable the buy was. Obviously, Niners coming in on a short week. This has been broadly publicized, so this shouldn't catch anyone by surprise. The market knows that the Niners only have 6 days rest here. The market also knows that the Niners are broadly injured. But the matchup that I think makes me the most excited for Seattle here is the fact that the Niners really are not generating much of a pass rush at all. If I'm going to to poke any holes in the case of Seattle being a legitimate contender to win the Super Bowl. It's that Sam Darnold, when he's under pressure, particularly up the middle, turns into an absolute pumpkin. We've seen it time and again last year at the end of this, at the death, and then this year when Seattle kind of went through their malaise in the third quarter of the season. And if Niners could manifest a pass rush in this one, then maybe this is an interesting game. I don't think they can, and so I don't know that it will be. Ultimately, Seattle's coming in pretty outstanding health. A lot of the injuries that I think handicapped their offense on the offensive line in the second half of the season seem to be improving. They think they're going to be effectively at full strength. Their running game all of a sudden found legs in the final quarter of the season. And in general, if you rewatch that Week 18 contest, 13-3 flatters the Niners. That probably should have been like 24-6, 24-10, maybe. Seattle left a lot of points on the field. So I think in general, Seattle's going to get their points in this one. And it's really going to be up to Brock Purdy to throw the Niners back into this contest. If you don't know what the strength of Seattle's defense is, it is their running defense. It is absolutely, it's like borderline historic how good they are at stopping the run. Christian McCaffrey has been a box score darling this year, but he ultimately has not been especially efficient. Just running the football. It's mostly he's been a pass catcher for them. So this is going to be on Brock Purdy's arm. Brock Purdy's probably going to throw a couple picks in this one. I have a very tough time seeing what the path to victory is for San Francisco here, and I don't mind laying Seattle at this price point in general. If I talked about some of our sharp friends about this, just trying to make the red team case here, see if I was missing anything obvious, and it's like Shanahan's a wizard. He has masterful offensive, game planning and strategy and schematics. And for what it's worth, if he had the answer for Mike McDonald's defense, when we would have seen it 2 weeks ago. When we didn't see it 2 weeks ago. So I cannot imagine that he has like some tricks up his sleeve that he was saving in case he ran into these guys in the playoffs. Like that's just not, rational to me. So I think Shanahan's in trouble. I think the Niners are going home.
Drew Dinsick with us on the show at whale_capper on Twitter. One of the sharpest guys out there breaking down sports and sports betting in the media. Okay, so Seattle in the late game, Denver in the early game, the 2 1 seeds with home field advantage to advance to Championship Sunday. Let's go to Sunday now, Sunday of the divisional round, and we were talking off air, and great job by you, buddy, because I feel like a lot of people that talk about betting in the media like me and put their money down had the Chargers on Sunday night and the Steelers on Monday night and lost both those wagers. I certainly did. You had the Patriots on Sunday night and the Texans on Monday night, so credit to you for that, because I think a lot of people went 0-2 and you went 2-0. And now we get those two teams that won those games. New England hosting Houston on Sunday. New England is a 3-point home favorite. This might go up to 3.5, which I think is fascinating, given how good this Houston defense is, the way they swarmed on Monday night and just dominated Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. Total of the game is 41. Your expectations for the Texans and the Patriots on Sunday?
Yeah, this one is the hardest game of the week. I got to choose between my darlings. The tricky part here for me to square is the fact that we had it wasn't liquid pools open in the look-ahead markets, right? But we had some look-ahead lines last week that had New England -1.5. And now we see the outcome of these games. Houston's defense looks all universe. They lose Nico Collins, but to see this now threatening 3.5 is pretty surprising. I get it. New England in general matches up well, in my opinion, against the Houston Texans defense, which is a little bit of a lopsided strength. The Houston Texans are able to rush the passer with 4. They're going to get pressure on Drake May all day long. They are going to sack Drake May. However, Houston does have an affinity for giving up home runs. If you can pick the right times to take some shots against them, you can beat them over the top because they have a very aggressive secondary. And the teams that have been able to succeed against Houston's defense over the balance of the season largely did it at home. And they did it with a quarterback who could overcome giving up sacks, because you're not going to solve that. Drake May is going to get sacked 6 times in this game. That said, kind of the rubric of they are at home, They are able to overcome sacks over the balance of the season. They are able to hit home runs. All of that is enough signal for me to say that New England is going to score into the 20s here. And then the question about New England covering comes down to, is New England's defense as good as what we saw last week, or was that entirely another playoff pumpkin out of Justin Herbert, augmented obviously by the fact that he doesn't have great weapons and his offensive line is 0th percentile. But I think New England's defense is good, not great, and I think CJ Stroud and Houston can score. If you could get a cheap 3 on the Patriots and go back in time and make that bet, I think it's a good bet. At this current price point where you're laying a pretty significant juice to bet Patriots -3, it would be a pass for me. And I'm going to take a swing on the over at this price because, again, I think the Patriots are going to score enough to put pressure on Houston. And I'm fine with kind of backing CJ Stroud, hoping that he got some of the yips out on Monday Night Football and he's going to be able to, to avoid some of the key mistakes here and at least score into the high teens, if not the 20s. So fair total for me on this one is closer to 44, like 43.5, 44. Wow. So I like the over.
Yeah, and if C.J. Stroud makes the type of mistakes this Sunday that he did on Monday night against the Steelers, the Patriots are gonna beat the Texans like they did in the Letterman game 15 years ago. That's what that's because you cannot. That was not bad. You have to think that C.J. Stroud's going to come out and play better. I think I bet the Texans in that game. Anyway, it's been betting for a long time. Last one here for divisional weekend: Rams at the Bears. L.A. a 3.5 or a 4-point road favorite. Total of the game is 49. I think, Drew, I like Buffalo in the same way you like Denver, but I could see Denver winning. You could see Buffalo winning. Feels like that's a coin flip. The game that I have the strongest opinion on right now, I think the Rams are going to win this game and win it fairly easily. I'm fascinated what you've got for us here on this one. Your opinion on Rams at the Bears, NFC Championship game berth on the line, Sunday at Soldier Field.
Yeah. Oh man, this one's good. I honestly don't. I don't fact check me. I think the last time we talked was right on the eve of the Rams going on to Thursday Night Football against the Seahawks. It was right around then, and my whole spiel that day was Rams are going to win this game. Rams are going to win the NFC. Rams are going to win the Super Bowl. Just let's all take a deep breath. I had bet a lot of Rams futures at that point throughout the season, but to that point, that was my biggest stake. Nick, that was the last futures bet I made. I am naked Rams to win the Super Bowl right now. Any other team wins, I'm just going to take a big fat red number on my futures portfolio. And so I'm nervous because what the Chicago Bears are doing doesn't feel outrageous to me. It doesn't feel fluky. It doesn't feel voodoo. It feels like really, really good coaching and really good scheme and really good in-game adjustments. And Ben Johnson, to me at least, is not getting anywhere close to the credit he deserves for getting this group of talent, which is not that good, to this stage of the playoffs. I guess I'm a Rams maximalist. I'm not going to stop betting them now, but I am very, very nervous about this matchup. Who do you think's going to win?
You can be nervous, but who do you think's going to win the game?
I think the Rams are going to win, and I sold them out to 5.5 at +109.
Yeah, good for you, buddy. Yeah, listen, the Bears can win. I think the Rams are a lot better than the Bears and the Packers.
I think the Rams
can
are
be
a lot
wrong.
better than the Bears.
I literally just detailed all the bets I got wrong on Wild Card Weekend. This is the one I would be. If the Bears won, I actually think I would be floored if the Bears won the game.
The reason the Bears could win is, again, Ben Johnson is coaching an outrageous...
And the Rams secondary sucks, which we can say also, right?
The Rams secondary is so bad. But and then there's an intangible. This is the Rams' third road game in a row on the road. There's some wear and tear that comes along with playing this many road games. And I'm starting to get a little concerned that they're going to be fourth road game in a row on the road next week in Seattle. And I'm just going to be like, how did this happen? But I think ultimately the key for me in this matchup is absolutely the running game for the Rams. If Sean McVay comes in with any other plan besides we are getting 40 carries across Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, and Puka Nacua, any other game plan, I'm going to be cursing Sean McVay all night long because this is the perfect opponent for you to run the ball down their throats. You should win time of possession 3-1 in this game. You absolutely should. Your run defense is good enough to stop their running attack. You should be able to put Caleb Williams in long down and distance, low probability of conversion, third downs. And you should be able to matriculate the ball all day long against this Bears defense, which is very, very, very suspect, has no linebacking, has weak safety play, has no ability to really generate a substantial pass rush. And you have a huge advantage with your offensive line. The cold weather, to me, just fuels that fire more in terms of pushing the Rams in the direction that will be successful. I think the Rams walk this one in.
Drew Dinsick, the Whale Capper, with us here on the show on Twitter at Whale_Capper. Just one thing. So the Rams did play home in Week 18, but this will be their 4th out of 5 road games coming up here. And if they advance the championship Sunday.
They weren't in Arizona?
Week 18, they won. They won at home against Arizona. So they don't have the 3 straight, but this is still, no, all good. Still like a ton of road games in a short amount of time for the Los Angeles Rams. I'd like to hit you with 2 more here, maybe 30 to 60 seconds per answer, and then we'll get you out of here. So as it stands right now, as people love this stuff, right? As far as who's going to win the Super Bowl, or really like any futures bet you like, could be Super Bowl MVP, whatever you think is good. And just to give this at BetMGM, the Seahawks are the Super Bowl favorite at 3-1. The Rams are up next plus 320. Buffalo plus 550. New England at plus 600. Denver, Houston, Chicago, and San Francisco follow from there. So this can be, if I gave you $100, who would you bet to win the Super Bowl? This could be some other market in the NFL. Any NFL futures bet that you could advocate right now for our listeners and viewers, whether it's for $5, 500, 5,000, whatever, in about a minute.
Okay, so I have Rams to win. I bet some exactas Rams over Patriots. I think that's still very, very live. If you said, has anything you've seen to this point changed your mind about what the Super Bowl is, I would say no. Rams over Patriots. I think the Rams most likely MVP is obviously Stafford, but he only makes up about 65% of the win probability because so much of it still could be taken by Puka. Even Devontae Adams, even though he looks pretty hurt. So I'm not gonna make a case for Devontae. Yeah, I mean there's probably a plus EV bet to be made on Puka at price, in my opinion. His matchup against the Patriots or against the Bills would be very, very favorable. His matchup against the Texans less so, because Stingley I have a ton of respect for. His matchup against the Broncos, all of a sudden that turns into a real sketchy situation. I don't love Puka versus Patrick Surtain in terms of being able to create separation. So my gut says the Puka is a good bet for MVP. My gut says LA over New England is where we're still going here. If you have an inclination to bet New England to win the Super Bowl, Drake May's MVP price is very, very, very favorable in my opinion. He should be 95% of the Patriots book. There's no other Patriot that's winning the MVP if the Patriots win the Super Bowl. And kind of think about that exercise. If you've not done this before, think about how, if and when Team X wins, how do we divide up the credit? And literally just kind of take their futures price, take the credit that they get, and see if that makes it a plus EV bet for a specific player to win the MVP. And for me, at least, that exercise points to Drake May and Puka. But I'm not going to make a move in that market yet, just because I'm sitting pretty if the Rams ultimately get this done.
Last one for you here. Next hour on the show, I'm going to talk about the Thunder win last night over the San Antonio Spurs. We'll do a little Giannis. He's booing the crowd. I think I don't know if they'll trade him prior to the deadline, but he won't be a Buck next year, in my estimation, at least. Anything, and this could be, Drew, like a specific game. This could be a futures bet, an award bet. Anything you like right now in the NBA in like a minute for our listeners and viewers.
NBA right now, futures, all comes down to one team. And we haven't talked about this. Sorry to break the news to you, but the Boston Celtics are a sleeping giant in the East. You may know this. I know you love the Knicks. I know that they, on paper right now, would be.
My response to this is illegal screen. My response will be illegal screen, like Joe Mazzulla the other night when the Celtics lost. I'll tell you what, for a team that's as good as they are, they're doing a lot of bitching and moaning about the officiating recently.
That's
the Celtics
a great
are.
Point. That's a
but
great
look like,
point.
but look like, point. Dude. And I'll say this, and I'll give you the floor back in a second. The thing about the Celtics that's been so crazy to me, and like obviously as we move out of football season, way more NBA coming up on the show, it's not apples to apples, right? Because like Jason Tatum's not Michael Jordan, and that's not an insult to Jason Tatum to say that. But this feels like a little bit when Jordan like retires the first time and Pippen the next year, 93, 94, the Bulls would lose in the Eastern Conference semis to my Knicks, and Scottie Pippen plays like an MVP the next year without Jordan there. And I'm not saying Tatum's Jordan, but it feels like Jaylen Brown's made that leap. And the difference between that Bulls team and this Celtics team is that Jason Tatum might come back this season for Boston, whereas Michael Jordan didn't, right, for the Chicago Bulls. So please finish on the Celtics.
Yeah, no, so the handicap, you basically said it. Jason Tatum might come back. The Celtics team have won enough games that they've set themselves up for a top 3 seed, which means we're talking about home first playoff round. We're talking they could get a top 2 seed at this point. It wouldn't shock me at all if Detroit slips up or if the Knicks ultimately just kind of settle into the third place groove. But Celtics for me very live to win the East. Just in general, like I think they match up well if Tatum does not come back. But there is 100% a world where the whispers turn into a roar as we get closer to the All-Star break. That Tatum is looking good. He's starting to practice. He's coming back in March. He's going to be game fit by May, right? There is certainly, just that kind of conversation bubbling up. It's going to nuke this price. This price is going to get halved, maybe a quartered. Like it is going to get obliterated if people really believe that Tatum is coming back. Because do you remember last year's market? The Celtics were like legitimate heavy favorites to win the title, even though the Thunder were the power-rated best team by 3 points going into the playoffs. People still were like, well, the Celtics will figure it out, right? Like if that team, and obviously they don't have the bigs that they had last year, but if Tatum and Brown with this supporting cast ultimately looks like they could run through the East, people are going to adjust their numbers aggressively, and Celtics are going to get wildly short. And honestly, like, we might ultimately get the matchup we were promised from last year of Celtics versus the Thunder in the finals. And I don't know how I would price that if Tatum is fully fit and good to go, because he's going to have a lot less miles on the tires than the Thunder will have. I mean, you can kind of see the Thunder when they're not playing well, it is almost entirely born out of fatigue, in my opinion. They look like they've put a lot into the a lot of effort on the table to get to this point. So Celtics are a sleeping giant, in my opinion. I would bet them to win the East. I would take a position on them to win the title. And if you are trying to buy low on the Thunder, I think your market to key on that is the West, not the title.
Wow. And, I'll say this also as someone that's in on the Thunder to win the championship from before the season. I'm concerned about the 3-point shooting for Oklahoma. Like, I think that's where you can kind of look at them and say, you know what, maybe the outside shooting, they could still fix it, but maybe it's not good enough. I'll tell you what, buddy. I have to be honest with you. For people that are watching the show right now, I will always start the show by saying, look how Drew's very handsome. He's got great hair. You're up early. It's not your best look today. I appreciate you getting up early, but I mean, this is it's that time of year, man. We got to get you outside of the sun a little bit. Me too. It's overcast here in New York.
No kidding.
Yeah, dude. Well, you're in Southern California, so not much to complain about. And I'll just say this for longtime listeners and viewers of the show. Like, we used to have what's called hard time breaks on the old show, right? Where, we could keep talking, but the show goes to break whether we want to or not. I loved this because this was we got to let this breathe a little bit with Drew. So if you're new to Drew, I'm guessing you loved it because I absolutely loved it. I think I'm a pretty good representation of the audience. Hit him up on social media, @whale_capper. You are the best, my man. We will do this again soon. Good luck with the bets this weekend.
Thanks as always for having me on, and best of luck for the divisional round playoffs.
Yes, sir. The great guys. Listen, I'm a Knicks fan. Didn't love that, but you got to tell the truth. Boston's been unbelievable, and you do feel a little bit like Missoula and Jaylen Brown, kind of letting the league office and the referees know, you better stop jobbing us in some of these games, because they have gotten jobbed a little bit recently, whether you like the Celtics or hate them. And I don't like them as a New Yorker. We have to tell the truth here on this show. Quick break. Coming up next, why the Philadelphia Eagles firing of offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo was necessary, but only a half measure to get the team back into Super Bowl contention. That's coming up next on Westwood One Sports.
Last thing I'll say. Our producer, Brandon Combs, put in the rundown. Will Pat Boyle get a Bears tattoo if the Bears win the Super Bowl like he predicts? Sure. You got a deal. Game on. I will get it. I will get a tattoo. I'll get a tattoo. Whatever Combs wants to do. Brandon,
where it's gonna go, Pat?
I'll put it on probably on my ass so nobody sees it.
Okay.
But Brandon, you can draw up this puppy however you want. Whatever tattoo you want to get for me to put on my body, I will do it. If the Bears win the Super Bowl, you have yourself a show bet here on BetMGM tonight. How do you like that?
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Do it live on the air if we can. I'll get a tattoo artist pull up right next to me here. You guys see my cheeks? That's probably not legal, but what's the next best thing?
This isn't going to be no Mario Heron tattoo either. You're actually going to get this damn thing done.
Yeah, I'm not a little, pipsqueak sissy like Mario who chickened out of it. I will get the tattoo if the Bears win the Super Bowl. That's a guarantee.
Needs 11 over the middle, tip, incomplete. San Francisco takes over, looking to take away the upset.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
That's my bad there. Eating a protein bar coming back from break. That sounded like a brag. I didn't mean for it to be a brag. I am bragging a little bit. I work out. I eat protein bars. That old chestnut. Bill asked what brand. They don't sponsor me, but Quest bars are the best protein bar because they have no sugar. It's just like straight up protein, which is great. They don't sponsor me. They didn't pay me to say that, but I eat Quest bars basically every day. Anyway, I need to take a swig of water because my mouth was drier than the Sahara Desert. I'm going to take another one right now. And this is where, look, our guy Kenny Henderson, we'll hear from Kenny coming up shortly in Kenny's Corner. Kenny and I have got to get a little mind meld situation going on here. Where, Kenny, if you see me struggling and I'm chewing, I need you to extend the music bed a little bit and not hit that rejoin so quickly. These are things that come with time. Just saying as we pull the curtain back a little bit here on what's happening. You Better You Bet on this Wednesday, Westwood One Sports. Love that interview. Kenny, come on the air for a second. Kenny, you did nothing wrong. You're good. You know what? Don't come on the air. We'll do Kenny's Corner next segment. But you did nothing wrong, Kenny. You are great. Love the interview with Drew Dinsick. I know our listeners and viewers, longtime listeners and viewers, love Drew as well. Breaking down all 4 games, divisional weekend. The Boston Celtics in the East. I didn't necessarily love that. But lots of great comments in the YouTube chat in support of Drew and the show today. YouTube.com/@thekostos. YouTube.com/@THEKOSTOS. Hit a couple of these now. Brian Van Gorder's mustache. Zach Taylor, the worst coach in the AFC North, and he's the only one that has stuck around. Only the Cincinnati Bengals. Our friend Mark, Bears fans have got to chill out. They're a great story, but they aren't ready for the big leagues. I actually agree with that, and I'm not trying to be a hater. I think the Rams will beat them and win by 7 or more on Sunday afternoon. Andy says Aaron Rodgers is a shell of what he was. 5 or 6 years ago, he would have won that game on Monday night. I guess 5 years ago, yeah, he was like the MVP, probably. Although maybe not with how well the Houston Texans defense played. I think Aaron Rodgers is basically done. Jay Wickers. Rodgers didn't make it to the Super Bowl very often. That is true. Rodgers has only been to 1 Super Bowl, 45 against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Dallas. He did win that game, but Rodgers has only been to 1. Not unheard of for Rodgers to underperform in a playoff game. That is true. Can't disagree. And Zach, Whale Capper returning is glorious news. I agree. I loved that segment with the Whale Capper. Adam Lefko will join us next hour on You Better You Bet. So yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles fired offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo. And this is something that absolutely had to be done. Going from Kellen Moore the previous year winning the Super Bowl to Kevin Patullo is like going from like a PlayStation 5 to Atari. You can't go from Expedition 33 to Pong. Like, it can't be what happens for the Philadelphia Eagles. And look, like, you can blame a lot of different people in Philadelphia for what happened last season with the offense, with the Eagles. And I think all of it's fair. You can say Nick Sirianni deserves blame. Of course he does. He's the one that put Patullo in that role, and he's the one that like stubbornly refused to move on from Patullo during the season. So yeah, you can blame the head coach. You can also blame the general manager, Howie Roseman, who saw what Nick Sirianni did in 23 with Brian Johnson, and then like they fire Brian Johnson, and then he's instrumental in Kellen Moore coming over, and then he let Sirianni promote this guy, and should have probably pushed Sirianni to fire him during the season, because it very clearly and obviously wasn't working for the Philadelphia Eagles. And you can also blame the players. It's the same players from last year, like minus Mekhi Becton on the offensive line. Same quarterback, same running back, basically the same offensive line. The same two receivers, the same third receiver, the same tight end. And how do you go from winning the Super Bowl, and it's not that they didn't win the Super Bowl this year, it's that they were pathetic and impotent on offense for most of the season. And I thought that the Niners defense would be Viagra for the impotent Eagles offense on Sunday at the Link. But little did I know. I mean, this was less Viagra for the Eagles offense and more whiskey for the Philadelphia Eagles offense, trying to fix their performance issues. Absolutely terrible. So yes, Kevin Patullo had to go, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, because the mob was angry. And I don't think you need to do this all the time in life or in sports, but sometimes, like, you have to satisfy the mob a little bit. You have to, right? Because if I were an Eagles fan, and I'm not, but if I were, and that my team announced they were bringing Kevin Patullo back, you'd freak out. And you'd have every right to do so. I would love for someone to disagree with me on that. YouTube.com/@thekostos. Let us know in the comments. 310-840-4910 on the phones if you're so inclined. So yes, Patullo had to go. But that's just a half measure. I use this line a lot on the show and in my personal life. Mike Ehrmantraut, great character from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, has a famous monologue about half measures. Basically saying, like, you can't do things halfway, half-assed. You either don't do it or you go all the way with it. Firing Kevin Patullo is necessary, but it's a half measure. The Eagles' culture on offense last year, the defense, I think, was with Vic Fangio and company, was pretty good. The offensive culture, rotten to the core. And I talked about this on Monday, but it bears repeating now with Patullo out. A.J. Brown's got to go. And I know, because I've gotten tweets from people. I've gotten Instagram messages from people. People in the Instagram comments on my videos, at the Kostos, TheKostos on all social platforms, that people will say to me, they will say, Nick, well, what about the cap hit? $44 million in dead money. You can't trade A.J. Brown. Really? You can't? Now, A.J. Brown is 500 billion times the player Tua Tagovailoa is. I know they play different positions. They're not even comparable as football players. I know that. But this is kind of a similar deal where the Miami Dolphins have got to eat it with Tua because you can't move forward with this guy. And maybe they will, and maybe the next coach wants him as a bridge. Who knows? I think they got to buy him out. Let him go. In the same way that I think the Eagles need to eat it with A.J. Brown. And it is very rare to say that a team needs to spend upwards of $50 million to pay one of the best receivers in football to not play for that team. But you can't have this with him and Jalen Hurts and the drama and how petulant he is and the cryptic posts on social media. You can get away with it if you're winning and you perform. But if you're dropping passes in the big moments like he did on Sunday, you can't have it. Now, A.J. Brown's going to be a stud wherever he plays next year. Maybe not in Philadelphia. But he goes somewhere else, he's going to be a monster. He's tremendous. I'm not disputing it. Would I like him on my favorite team, the Giants? Hell yeah. I'd love it. But in this spot, with this team, And that coach and that quarterback, it is rotten. And you gotta cut the rot out. He's got to go. And as you spin it forward with Philadelphia, as they look to get back to a Super Bowl or be in contention next year, Mike McDaniel needs to be on speed dial to run that offense. Here's a name for everybody. I don't think he's a good head coach. I'll tell you that from experience. How would you feel about Brian Dable calling the plays for the Philadelphia Eagles? Something to think about. We'll get into Brian Dable's old team, the New York Football Giants. Per Ian Rappaport, they may hire John Harbaugh today. I don't think that'll happen, but maybe. We'll get into that next hour on the show. But on the other side, Ken Sanity takes over. Kenny Henderson with some of the best sound from yesterday in the world of sports and life. Kenny's Corner, up next.
Last thing I'll say. Our producer, Brandon Combs, put in the rundown. Will Pat Boyle get a Bears tattoo if the Bears win the Super Bowl like he predicts? I've picked against your Bears enough this season. I've seen the magic. I've seen the voodoo. I've seen the Rams play with their food is not the right term. Just sloppy football, leaving the door open, not being able to put teams away, and a defense that if they don't get to the quarterback, they have a tough time stopping teams. And the Bears, they've had a great job protecting Caleb Williams all year. He does an incredible job of extending plays when he's under pressure. I think Caleb Williams and the Bears offense going to give the Rams defense some fits. I think this could be a shootout. I think you and I both agree on that. If I'm like early lean, I lean the Bears at home, field goal, more than a field goal underdog. I would take
You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
All right, next hour on the show, we will talk some NBA. Thunder beat the Spurs last night. You won't believe what Giannis said to the crowd in Milwaukee. Adam Lefkoe will join us. Look forward to that. The latest on John Harbaugh and the New York Football Giants, and my bets for tonight in the world of sports. For our listeners and viewers, I'll have a bet on the NBA tonight. But if you are betting on the NBA this season, here's something that'll take the pressure off your picks. How awesome does that sound already? With the NBA No Sweat token, you don't need to sweat it if your bet doesn't hit. You'll get your stake back in bonus bets up to $1,000. Download the BetMGM app. Visit BetMGM.com today. Make it legendary. And please, gamble responsibly. Our excellent engineer, Kenny Henderson, with us now for Kenny's Corner. Kenny, lay down the beat. Hit us with some great sound from yesterday. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And the big news yesterday in sports was the firing of Mike Tomlin. And the Ravens had their postseason presser, and owner Steve Bisciotti had this to say when he heard the news.
He did? Is it official?
That's what I keep hearing. So, is he a candidate here?
Holy shit, Mike. Wouldn't that be awesome? Only if John takes the Pittsburgh job.
Only someone who's like extraordinarily rich and secure in himself can get away with saying that the way that Steve Bisciotti did yesterday. Bill and Tyler are with us. I want to bring our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman, on first. Bill, are you aware that about 19 times yesterday and today you referred to him as Ravens owner Steve Biscotti, like the Italian cookie that you dunk into espresso?
I was not. I don't know if I don't know how to spell or if that was an autocorrect, but Biscottis are pretty good. So
no, this was a verbal. You on the phone this morning. You called him Steve Biscotti about 6 times and got me hungry for cookies.
I'm still adjusting the calls at 6:30 in the morning, Nick. So you'll have to forgive me.
So is our technical director, Tyler Morales. That does stand out, Tyler, as one of the notable sound bites that we played thus far this season on Kenny's Corner.
Yeah, I think you said it. These owners, I love how some of them just like don't care. Like he was talking about like cutting the salary cap like it was like nothing, and he was talking about like $50 million trying to move around. Like these guys, they have a lot of fun. It'd be a great job to have, but I thought that was an extraordinary press conference, and I guess we needed Lynn Jones there as well. Maybe we would have gotten a good comment from the owner as well.
It's like a Lynn. I got to tell you, I'm a Lynn Jones fan. Like that whole thing with Liam Cohen on Sunday was so ridiculous how mad people got about it. Bisciotti, by the way, also said, Danny Parkins was on in the first hour of the show talking about how the McCaskey family are basically like Bears fans, like descendants of George Halas. Bisciotti said that his plan, as he continues to age, he's not passing the team down to his kids because he thinks it's unhealthy for his family to own the team. He's going to sell the team. I thought that was great. Also got asked about Lamar Jackson and will Lamar have a sense of, or will Lamar have a say in who the next coach is? And he said Lamar has a say, but Lamar has no power. I have all the power, was what he said, like he's He-Man, like a Castle Grayskull. Kenny, what else we got?
So Matt Ryan had his introductory presser as the president for the Falcons, and he had this to say about what he plans to do with his new role.
I'm not trying to call plays. I'm not trying to run your offense. I'm not trying to pull Philip Rivers and come back and play. I'm not doing any of those. I think most importantly, I'm trying to get the right person in here in both of those positions.
Okay. I think it's like kind of funny soundbite. I don't know. I think Matt, a little boring. Matty Ice, vanilla.
Isn't Matt Ryan just boring?
Yeah, I just think Matt Ryan's. To be fair, I did like him on the NFL on CBS. Just we replace him. Maybe I think Tomlin's going to Fox, but just saying a little better, a little more explosive, probably a little more entertaining. Kenny, can we sneak in one more piece of sound? I know we're running out of time.
I think we can. Here is James Harrison after the Steelers yet again losing in the playoffs.
What are we looking at right now, Joe? 9 year stretch? Not a single playoff win? Bro, last time we won a playoff game, 2000. Was you even on the team, Joe? You wasn't even on the team, Joe.
Oh. Nope.
I was on the team. That's how long it's been, bro.
James Harrison, not happy. Bill, should I tell my James Harrison story about the Pro Bowl in like 2008 or whatever on the other side to start the hour?
Yeah, we need to get that in. Absolutely.
Okay,
James Harrison stories are always good.
I've got a great James Harrison story that I will tell for everyone to start next hour, final hour, power hour. Lefko will join us, all our bets, coming up next on Westwood One Sports.
I've picked against your Bears enough this season. I've seen the magic. I've seen the voodoo. I've seen the Rams play with their food's not the right term. Just sloppy football, leaving the door open, not being able to put teams away, and a defense that if they don't get to the quarterback, they have a tough time stopping teams. And the Bears, they've had a great job protecting Caleb Williams all year. He does an incredible job of extending plays when he's under pressure. I think Caleb Williams and the Bears offense going to give the Rams defense some fits. I think this could be a shootout. I think you and I both agree on that. If I'm like early lean, I lean the Bears at home, field goal, more than a field goal underdog. I would take it with Chicago. I think they're incredibly live, which doesn't make me feel good about the prospects of getting a tattoo on my ass if they win the Super Bowl. I think they keep this game close. I don't see what the Rams have done other than like 6 weeks ago when we were like, oh, the Rams are the best team in football. They haven't been that team for a solid month and a half. I think that's what this betting line is kind of reflecting. It's the team that the Rams were in early November, not the team they are now. I'm surprised this is more than a field goal.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Kenny. Final hour. Power hour. You better you bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our unbelievable crew, and whoever the hell you are. I love all of you. Power hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. Coming up about 20 minutes from now, a very newsy Tuesday night in the NBA, and we will get to some of the biggest stories, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder, as the kids would say, getting their lick back against Victor Wembanyama and the I'm so old. I'm 42 years old, and I feel like I'm 80. Beating the San Antonio Spurs last night for the first time in 4 tries this season. So we'll talk about OKC. And we're going to play the sound for you of what Giannis did last night to the crowd in Milwaukee, to the home crowd. And if you haven't heard it, if you haven't seen it, I think you are going to be very, very surprised. Adam Lefko from Turner Sports will join us later this hour. Maybe, Ernie Johnson's still around, still doing it. I think Lefko is maybe the best studio host in all of sports TV right now. Lefko will join us later this hour. Very much look forward to that. All my bets for tonight will wrap up the show here in the final hour, here in the power hour. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, let me know your favorite bets for the night. YouTube.com/@thekostos, THEKOSTOS. You can call as well at 310-840-4910. Just to reiterate the big story of the day, Mike Tomlin stepping down yesterday as Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. I think this is a win for Tomlin and a win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tomlin gets to go, and by all accounts, he's going to do TV next year. I have heard through the grapevine. I won't insult the memory of the late, great Marvin Gaye by singing that song. But I have heard that he will go to Fox and replace Jimmy Johnson, basically, on the set of the NFL pregame show. We will see if that's true or not. I'm not reporting it, just that I think that that's what may happen, that Mike Tomlin may go to Fox, which means he gets a year off and gets to make a lot of money and gets to entertain all of us. So he wins, and we win. And if he decides in a year or two he wants to go back to coaching, he'll get to pick his team, and likely will be a team with a young, established quarterback. He's a big winner. We as fans are big winners. And the Steelers are big winners. Because now they get to reset. Hit the reset button on their franchise. And I hope that they will no longer be in the fruitless pursuit and mired in the vicious cycle of 9-8 and the vicious cycle of 10-7. It's time to accept reality that 4-13 might be good for this franchise, while acknowledging that should never be the goal. Just knowing that 4-13 in 2026 would serve this franchise better than 9-8. Got to get more young talent on this roster. An old, aging roster for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yeah, they've got to get the quarterback position correct. There's absolutely no question about it. That's the most important thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, even more important than the next head coach. But there's one thing yet that we have not discussed as it concerns Pittsburgh, and that is TJ Watt. Now, you may hear me say this, watch me say it on YouTube, and this may sound like sacrilege to you. Football sacrilege. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers need to trade TJ Watt. Now, before you jump down my throat, well, now you're saying the Eagles should trade. You want everyone to trade everybody? That's not true. The A.J. Brown thing is way different than the T.J. Watt thing. I think we need to ask and answer some questions about the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And I would encourage you, the listener and viewer, like I have an opinion here, but you can disagree with me. I just I think you're wrong, but you can disagree. Do you think, legitimately, that there is an outcome that exists where the 2026 Pittsburgh Steelers can win a championship? Be honest. Does that outcome exist? I think the answer to that question is no. And probably not in 27 either, if you're going to do this the right way. Like, not half-assed do it. Like, try and go 9-8. Like, no. You're trying to go 14-3, 13-4, 12-5, 15-2. Win a Super Bowl championship. TJ Watt's going to be 32 next year. Does his timeline, as he continues to age, I don't mean this as an insult, like TJ Watt's a Hall of Fame player, a legendary player. I don't know that his timeline matches up with the Steelers' timeline to legitimately contend. They could talk themselves into it. I just don't think it's possible. So if you could get a bunch of draft capital for TJ Watt, why wouldn't you do that? And really, again, do this the right way. Tear it down to the studs. Rebuild this son of a bitch back up. Why wouldn't you do that? Life is chess, not checkers. In chess, sometimes you purposefully take a step back so you can take 3 steps forward, a couple moves down the board. I know Steelers fans don't want to hear it. I understand. And you may hear me say that and think I'm crazy. But ask yourself that question again. Will the Steelers be able to actually win, not go 9-8, not go 10-7, actually contend for a Super Bowl championship in the next couple years? I think that answer is no. And if that answer is no, I think they need to seriously look into trading TJ Watt and get as much draft compensation possible moving forward. The one loser in the Mike Tomlin news is Aaron Rodgers. Mike Tomlin had come back. You could have made a case Aaron Rodgers is the week 1 starting quarterback next year. Now, there's no case. Who's coming in and bringing Aaron Rodgers back next year? He's going to be 43 next year. And I'm not an anti-Aaron Rodgers guy. I like Aaron Rodgers. I think he's entertaining. I think he can still play to a degree. But at this point, at his age, with the baggage that he brings, with how Monday night went, 0 chance for the Steelers in that game against the Texans defense, I think it's more than likely his career's over. And if and when that happens and he retires, it'll be a really interesting conversation. So people are all over the place on Aaron Rodgers. But one thing you cannot question, he is one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the league. And it will be the closure of an era of NFL football if and when Aaron Rodgers retires. And we'll talk about that if it happens here this offseason. You better, you bet. And Westwood One Sports. We do have a tie-in to the Aaron Rodgers, to that, what I just said about Aaron Rodgers, because Rodgers, earlier in the week, on Monday night, after the Steelers lost, kind of gave a shout-out to his former head coach in Green Bay, Matt LaFleur, basically saying that this is not how the NFL used to operate. Coaches like LaFleur didn't used to be on the hot seat. So Rodgers stumped for Matt LaFleur, and Matt LaFleur came out and was like, I'm so enamored with the fact that this happened. Like, I'm so thankful to Aaron Rodgers he didn't have to say that. Now, Rodgers, said what he said about LaFleur because of the years they spent together winning in Green Bay. The Packers have kept winning with Jordan Love, but a lot of people think that Matt LaFleur's time has come in Green Bay with the Packers. We told you on Monday that LaFleur and the Packers and their team president, Ed Policy, were going to work towards a long-term extension. Take a listen to what ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter had to say on ESPN Milwaukee this morning about Matt LaFleur moving forward.
The way I would interpret it right now is it's up in the air. And I believe firmly that most places would have a high level of interest in Matt LaFleur. I don't know whether they wouldn't hold him up and say, okay, Team X, you want him, give us a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round pick.
So that's interesting, right? That all of this LaFleur consternation playing out publicly, the negotiation playing out publicly, he still has 1 year left on his deal. So you've got 3 options. fired, extended, or traded, and then the team that trades for Matt LaFleur extends him. If I had to guess right now, and I want to be honest about this, I've been wrong about the LaFleur situation for a while now. And Bill Zimmerman said he's right. He could be a lame duck. I think that's the least likely outcome. I've been wrong on the LaFleur stuff for like a week now. I thought he'd be gone already. I've gotten a lot of stuff right. I've been wrong on this. My guess is, I don't know how it will happen. My guess is right now that he's not the Packers coach next year. But again, my instincts on this story have been wrong for about a week now on Matt LaFleur. So I can definitely be wrong about this. Now let's just say that I'm right. You better you bet on this Wednesday. Nick Kostos here with you on Westwood One Sports. Let's say I'm right and Matt LaFleur is fired. And if he gets traded, then like the team that trades for him will obviously have its next coach, right? Miami, Tennessee, Atlanta, whomever it may be, another team, who knows? There will be up to, if Matt LaFleur is gone in Green Bay. And I'll just say this. I don't think Sean McDermott's out of the woods in Buffalo, despite the win this past weekend against the Jacksonville Jaguars. There will be at least 9 and an upwards of 11 potential vacancies this NFL offseason. Now, John Harbaugh is John Harbaugh's getting a job. Like, we know that, right? Is he the only guy that we know is getting a job? Like, 100% is getting a job. I think Kevin Stefanski's going to get a job. Like, I think Jesse Minter's going to get a job, but we kind of don't know that. Like, Harbaugh seems like the only one that's definitely going to get a job. And we can obviously name names that we think will get jobs. Out of everybody, and if Tomlin wants to coach and the Steelers work out some compensation, it feels like that's not going to happen, but Tomlin would get a job also. There's one name that is in the bucket or under the umbrella. I kind of hate both of those turns of phrases, and I use both of them in a row. Whatever. There's one name that's in the group of coaches that maybe will get a job that I think it will be, to quote Ric Flair after losing the WWF title to Macho Man Randy Savage, we just need this soundbite, Kenny and Bill. You got to get this soundbite of Ric Flair saying, "This has been a miscarriage of justice." Where will be a miscarriage of justice if this guy doesn't get a head coaching job? That guy, Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores. Now, Brian Flores does have like a lawsuit right now against teams and against the league for like the way things went down a few years ago with the Giants. And we don't have to get into the particulars of that. Here's what I know. Brian Flores is one of, if not the, best defensive minds in all of football. The Minnesota Vikings this year went 9-8 with a quarterback trio of J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz, and Max Brosmer. A winning record with those 3 quarterbacks, which would be like if like you were running like an election campaign and Charlie Sheen were your candidate and you won. How? Because he's an absolute stud and a monster defensive coordinator. And people will want to say, well, you know, he didn't play nice in the sandbox with Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. Who cares? Grow up. Tua Tagovailoa didn't like it, right? When Brian Flores was hard on him, right? How'd that turn out, right? Like, please, we are such like a wimpy society. We're such a bunch of like mealy-mouthed participation trophy losers that like we can't handle when someone wants to coach tough and talk tough and be a little mean if it comes down to it. Grow up. It's professional sports. Grow up. This is how life is. You don't get a participation trophy. You don't get to just go and like be bad at your job or be average at your job and get patted on the ass and told you're doing well. Get over it. Now, does Flores need to do a little better in that regard? I'm not saying you could just like be mean to your players. That's not what I'm saying. And by a lot of accounts, he was not good with his offensive coaches. And I'm sure a lot of that's true. I understand. If Brian Flores can fix any of that, how is he not like the best candidate for a lot of jobs, including, and this is the one where I'm just like, how do you not make this hire? If you're Steve Bisciotti, Eric DeCosta, and the Baltimore Ravens, and you want a coach to come into Baltimore and kick ass and take names and get Lamar Jackson up to speed, how is Brian Flores not your guy? The Minnesota Vikings offense this year had to basically rig it at the end of the year to get Justin Jefferson. You know, the best receiver in the league. Over 1,000 yards. That's how bad it was on offense. And they went 9-8 because of him. Because of Flores. And I like Kevin O'Connell, but like, you think it was Kevin O'Connell's offense that got them over the hump? Or it was Brian Flores' defense? Who basically ended the Lions season on Christmas with that performance. He should be a head coach again. And if he's not, I may file a lawsuit. I'll do it so he doesn't have to. If you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, someone who wants to bet, I'll tell you what, they named Flores the coach. I'm betting them to win the Super Bowl. I'm betting them to win the AFC. I'm betting them to win the AFC North. I'm betting them over the win total. And I was anti-Baltimore in past seasons with John Harbaugh. You hire Flores, I'm way in on the Baltimore Ravens. You want to fix that defense? You want to get Lamar, stop coddling Lamar Jackson? Great. He's your guy. If he is not hired this offseason and doesn't get a job, it will be a miscarriage of justice. Coming up next here on this Wednesday, You Bet on Westwood One Sports. We will play the Giannis Antetokounmpo sound from last night that you will have to hear to believe, and why I think Giannis's time in Milwaukee is numbered. You Bet, Westwood One Sports with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM.
I've picked against your Bears enough this season. I've seen the magic. I've seen the voodoo. I've seen the Rams play with their food is not the right term. Just sloppy football, leaving the door open, not being able to put teams away, and a defense that if they don't get to the quarterback, they have a tough time stopping teams. And the Bears, they've had a great job protecting Caleb Williams all year. He does an incredible job of extending plays when he's under pressure. I think Caleb Williams and the Bears offense going to give the Rams defense some fits. I think this could be a shootout. I think you and I both agree on that. If I'm early lean, I lean the Bears at home, field goal, more than a field goal underdog. I would take it with Chicago. I think they're incredibly live, which doesn't make me feel good about the prospects of getting a tattoo on my ass if they win the Super Bowl. I think they keep this game close. I don't see what the Rams have done other than 6 weeks ago when we were like, oh, the Rams are the best team in football. They haven't been that team for a solid month and a half. I think that's what this betting line is kind of reflecting. It's the team that the Rams were in early November, not the team they are now. I'm surprised this is more than a field goal.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
Our friend Adam Lefko from Turner Sports will join us about 10 minutes from now. Lefko, one of the best in the business. Very much looking forward to Adam Lefko joining us on You Better You Bet. All my bets for tonight will wrap up the show about 20 minutes from now, maybe 30 minutes from now. A couple bets in the NBA and college basketball, and we'll tell you about the BetMGM NBA No Sweat token as well. Why, if you're going to bet on the NBA, you need to do it with our friends over at BetMGM. All right, I have a couple of YouTube comments I want to get to. YouTube.com/@thekostos. Our friend Void Null with a couple chime-ins. The Eagles' offense lost the plot. Saquon playing like giant Saquon. Yeah, the 450 carries last year. A.J. Brown, only notable for the drama. I agree. Mark says Kevin Patullo, the main problem in Philadelphia, but you don't give away wide receiver ones. I kind of disagree with that. You won a Super Bowl with A.J. Brown. Things were great with A.J. Brown. But if he's going to complain, and he's going to be dramatic, and he's going to read self-help books, and he's going to have cryptic Instagram posts like a guy or girl, and I say guy because I've done it, and I've known other guys that have done it, who get into a breakup or some kind of relationship drama, and all of a sudden you're posting the lyrics from Gautier's classic, Somebody I Used to Know. You didn't have to cut me off. That is a good song, man. It's a really good song. Andy says, can't picture Mike Tomlin in anything but a Steelers hoodie. Well, you'll get to watch him in a suit next year on Fox. He'll be awesome, in my estimation. And Void Null with another comment here. I disagree with this one. Brian Flores is a bum. I don't care about conflicting personalities. If you can't win with Prime Tua, there's something wrong. Prime Tua? Prime Tua. Prime Tua was like, what year is this, 2026? Was like 8 years ago against Ole Miss. Not like 4 years ago against the Buffalo Bills. No. Think about the primes you'd rather have than Prime Tua. Amazon Prime. Prime Rib. Optimus Prime. Deion Sanders. Metroid Prime. I don't even like the Metroid games. There's my hot video game take. I don't like Metroid. Like everyone likes Metroid. I don't like Metroid. I also think Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is an overrated game, and I prefer Link to the Past and Breath of the Wild. These are things you say them in the wrong circles? Like you get a finger chopped off for saying things like this. It's my opinion. I don't want to spend 9 hours in the water temple in Ocarina of Time. I don't want to spend 15 hours, using the grappling hook in some small room in Metroid. I'm good. Prime Tua. I mean, what the hell are we talking about? Stop it with Prime Tua. Brian Flores needs to be a head coach next season, and the Baltimore Ravens, I think, need to be the team that makes it happen. Let's talk some NBA from last night. Pretty newsy Tuesday night in the NBA. First off, you had the Oklahoma City Thunder absolutely laying it on the San Antonio Spurs. And just in case, we have newer listeners and viewers of the show, I love talking NBA, regular season, December, November, into the postseason, obviously, all year round. You know this already, but just in case people don't, you're not paying attention to the NBA until football ends, totally okay. That's what I'm here for. I'm grinding it so you don't have to on the NBA. So the San Antonio Spurs beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 3 times in the span of 14 days at the end of the calendar year 2025. And kind of, took the air of invincibility away from Oklahoma City. Last night, Victor Wembanyama, a minute into the game, dunks on Chet Holmgren. And you're thinking, whoa, they about to beat the Thunder again? And then the Thunder seem to have this moment where they realize again, hey, we're the Oklahoma City Thunder, we're actually the best team. And they lay waste to the Spurs and beat San Antonio 119-98. If and when we get there, and we get a 7-game series with the Thunder and the Spurs coming up in the NBA Western Conference playoffs, I think it'll be awesome. I think it'll be filled with drama. And SGA is trash-talking De'Aaron Fox. We would never see SGA trash talk. Never. In the playoffs, he's getting heckled by the crowd in Denver. He's smiling at them. You never get SGA jawing with the opposition. He's jawing with De'Aaron Fox. I think it will be a great series, and I think the Thunder will win. Like, this felt like the Thunder last night, realizing, hey, like, we are who we are. We're the best team. They've now won 4 straight games. And J-Dub, Jalen Williams, not J-A-Y, J-A-L, Jalen Williams, is starting to round into form, and if and when that happens, this team is going to be scary. So good job by the Thunder last night. And before we take a break and bring Lefko on, Kenny, play the Giannis sound from yesterday as the Bucks get blown out at home by the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Count the bucket. A tough 2 to get. Giannis with a message to the Fiserv fans who are displeased with this team's efforts in the first half.
So I'm going to set the stage for you. The Bucks are getting blown out at home by the Minnesota Timberwolves without Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert. And the Wolves are one of the best teams in the league, and since Thanksgiving, you can make a case they're the best team in the NBA. But no Edwards, no Gobert. They are blowing out the Bucks at halftime. They boo Giannis and the Bucks into the halftime locker room. Giannis comes out, gets that and one. They're still down by like 30, and Giannis does like the Joaquin Phoenix from Gladiator, double thumbs down, and boos the crowd who's booing him. We're 3 weeks away from the 2025-26 NBA trade deadline. I don't know if the Bucks will move Giannis before the deadline. They should. One thing is becoming abundantly clear. Giannis, who loves Milwaukee and loves being a Buck, and that is not the setup to a joke, he sincerely loves it. He's losing it. His team's losing. They're booing, and he's had it. And he's handled this entire situation with class the entire time. But everybody's got a breaking point. And it feels like he's reached it. And one way or another, whether it's 3 weeks from now, Thursday, February 5th, and the trade deadline, or this summer, Giannis Antetokounmpo's career as a Milwaukee Buck, it's not if it's drawing to a close. It's when it draws to a close. And it could happen before we get Super Bowl 60 on Sunday, February the 8th. On the other side, one of my absolute favorites, one of the best guys in the industry and one of the biggest talents in the industry, Adam Lefko of Turner Sports will join us to talk his Eagles, a little NFL playoffs, NBA, college hoops, here on You Better You Bet on a Wednesday.
I got a feeling this line may grow in favor of Buffalo. I would not be surprised the Bills close as like a 2.5-point favorite. Again, given the assessment that I've gotten from a lot of people there in the Mile High City. The biggest issue for Denver, as we said, until we're blue in the face, just how sluggish they've been in the first half. I mean, they got to come out with guns a-blazing. They got to come out popping. They got to come out firing. They got to be efficient. They got to score some points because the Buffalo Bills got to be able to rack some points. And, I think you hit it right on the head. Can RJ Harvey be that guy on the ground? And the area you can take advantage of the Buffalo Bills is in the trenches. They're number 24 since week 12 in rush EPA defense. So maybe Bo Nix and his scrambling ability, he can make some chunk gains in that area. But yeah, the back end of that Bills defense is stiff and stout and unrelenting. I think the Bills will have an advantage. Josh Allen is genius, his brilliance, despite how awesome that Broncos defense is. He is going to push him. He's going to test him. And Khalil Shakir, given his savvy route running ability, is a guy that can certainly do some work and some dirty work underneath. Even if James Cook doesn't arrive again, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out and has another sub 60, 65-yard day. So I think Josh Allen is going to be too much. And I just don't trust Denver to start off hot. I don't.
Back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
All right, all my bets for tonight are coming up to wrap up the show. And if you, dear listener, and you, dear viewer, are betting on the NBA this season, here's something that'll take the pressure off your picks. With the NBA No Sweat Token, you don't need to sweat if your bet doesn't hit. You'll get your stake back in bonus bets up to $1,000. Download the BetMGM app, and please gamble responsibly. One of my absolute favorite people in the broadcasting space, and I've told this story before. I want to tell it again just because we have a new audience here, and he's heard me say it I apologize. Adam Lefkoe is going to join us. He's here with us now. Turner Sports studio host, Saturday on TNT. The college basketball slate will be great. Host of the Big Podcast with Shaquille O'Neal. We'll get into that as well. Early in my broadcasting career, I get a fill-in opportunity at Bleacher Report Radio, and Lefkoe worked at Bleacher Report at the time, and he had me on as a guest, and I was down in the dumps, man. My dad had just died. This is real life stuff. My dad had just died, broke up with the girl that I was seeing, wasn't getting opportunities. And you're a couple of years younger than me. And you said stuff that was so nice to me in that interview. You actually gave me optimism to move forward. So I've told that story before. I'm sorry that you've had to hear it like 5 or 6 times at this point.
No, it's
just
nice.
that, like, when I think of you, that always comes to mind, just so people know, because you watch Lefko on TV and you're like, man, he comes across like a really nice guy. Like, he is. I can confirm that. Thanks for coming on the show, buddy. How are you?
To all your viewers that love this version of you, you have to understand, like, this, was that at Sirius? Is that where that was?
Yes.
So, like, it was like a dark hallway, and it's like all these studios, there's like no one really in them. And then, like, I open this door and here's Nick with this voice that's like cutting through everything. And he's just like going at the microphone. I'm like, man, this guy's got energy. And he's like, I don't know, man. And I was like, what? I was like, I just came down this dark cavern and here you are under a spotlight just going. To me, it was obvious. I'm so happy for all your success. And of course, I'm coming on You Better You Bet. Even though I have taken a break from betting, I have to admit this on your show. I know that everyone loves gambling and gambling's great. I've taken about 2 months off, Nick, and my brain is realigned because I hit the biggest bet of my life, is what happened, to be honest.
I feel like I get fired if I don't ask you the follow-up here. What was that bet that you won?
So since we're talking college basketball, in March of 2025, I decided to do, I see all these bets online where people predict champions and stuff of multiple sports. And man, what a rush to get to live something for 9 months.
You didn't have
So
Duke? Can I just start by saying this? You didn't have Duke? I feel like everybody had Duke in the NCAA tournament last year.
No, I took Florida.
Oh my God! You're the one that had Florida.
Yeah.
Everybody else had Duke and lost on Duke, including me.
I did it on the tarmac at LaGuardia, flying down to Atlanta for a week. And I was like, if I don't bet on right now, I'm not going to be able to get a bet in. And the SEC tournament, they looked so good. And I was like, what you said, everyone's going to go Duke. Everyone's going to go Auburn. They were third. So I took them. And then I just had watched the Celtics play the Thunder. And this was before the injuries. And the Thunder looked really good. So I picked the Thunder. And then for the World Series, I picked the Phillies. And then I sat there and I went, the Phillies are going to let me down. Like, who would be the most disappointing team to lose to? And I picked the Dodgers. And so that game 7, I was up with a blanket wrapped around my head. Afterwards, I'm in the streets of New York, just pacing after I won. It ended up it was like 51-1. And I hit that. And then the next week I put in like a 3 touchdown parlay for $50 and it hit for like 1,500 and I felt nothing. And I was like, I got to take a break. I was like, I have tasted such a high that like, I need to get away from this for a little bit. Cause that I went, oh, okay, not good.
And the best part about that is, right, that parlay that you hit, and shout out to Orion Kirkring. I had the Dodgers also. We needed that, like, to cash that bet, unfortunately, for all the Phillies fans. Florida obviously wins the Natty, but and they beat Auburn pretty handily. Not super handily, but they won that game on Saturday in the Final Four. Could have lost to Houston. So you had that unbelievable sweat in the national championship
double
game.
double digits in the second half. Crazy 3 at the end of the game. I thought it was gone. Tyrese Halliburton starts off game 7 of the Thunder, and I'm like, oh no, I'm against destiny. But yeah, like 9th inning, 1 out. Rojas like dives at a pitch and hits a home run when everyone's like, Shohei's going to come up. I mean, and to make it worse, like as a Philly guy, to listen to 5 innings of them being like, and Bo Bichette is this year's version of Joe Carter. Let's relive 1993. And I'm like, having flashbacks as like a 7-year-old crying like to my babysitter because Joe Carter hit a home run off Mitch Williams. And I was like, this is just an awful way for it all to go down. And yeah, happened. And then what a moment. Will Smith from West Philadelphia, born and raised, goes out to LA for the Dodgers and hits the home run. Loved it. It was great. And he's not Philadelphia. It was just Fresh Prince.
Yeah. And I'll just say, keep your wife's name out your mouth. Please just
exactly.
You don't want to get slapped with this, but hey,
indeed.
At least things turned around for Philadelphia sports fans this past weekend with your Eagles. Now, look, I say that partially as a New Yorker rubbing it in. Also, the Eagles were my big bet to win the Super Bowl this year, so that was not a great result for yours truly. So they fired Patullo yesterday. Obviously, that has to happen. I've been I think I'm right on this. I think a lot of people disagree with me. I'm fascinated. You're a big Philly sports fan to get your thought on this. I think they may have to eat some money to make it happen, and it's crazy to say eat money to get rid of one of the best receivers in the league. I think they got to trade A.J. Brown. Where do you come down on that as an Eagles fan?
Watching the game, you can't be the storyline all season long and then drop passes in clutch situations. Like, you either get to be like, I need the ball more, and then you make plays, or you just kind of grit it out and you can drop a pass. Like, you're allowed that. I think the big question is, what is the truth of the story in the locker room? I think it's very telling that they are keeping they say they may keep Patula on in some form or fashion, which means they do not believe all of the blame goes on Patula, which is what many Eagles fans believe. I have heard a rumor and a thought that maybe A.J. Brown was saying things that the rest of the locker room couldn't say about the quarterback. And that is, in essence, the question. I'm seeing a lot of pundits and analysts right now from major networks talking about how Jalen Hurts is the problem. If Jalen Hurts is actually the problem, then I don't know how you mitigate that situation. I don't know if it's offensive minds. I don't know if it's different personnel. I'm not sure how that works. I will say this, and I think A.J. Brown has been one of the best Eagles wide receivers in franchise history, and he's an incredible wide receiver. I do think, and I think he's taken a step back in terms of his speed this year. I thought there was a number of times this year where he didn't separate, where, of course, he would have that guy on his hip, but in years past, he's going the distance where now he's down for 20, down for 10. The Eagles' financial situation fascinates me because they've moved all of their payments into years in the future. And so usually that you cannot move on early from contracts. That's kind of the way, the give and take of it all. Nick, I think the biggest issue for the Eagles going forward is something that you guys haven't figured out still, which is a right tackle or an offensive lineman. The big loss for the Eagles was not having Lane Johnson in that game. Over the last few years, you could take any player off the roster. Jalen Carter, Cooper DeJean. There are even times where they looked good without Jalen Hurts and Saquon. But if you lose Lane Johnson, it's a different team. They're like 500 without Lane Johnson. And I think it's coming to an end. And I think the scary thing, if you're an Eagles fan, is Landon Dickerson after that last game was saying that he's really hurt. The Jason Kelce replacement, Cam Jerkins, hasn't looked good. They won a Super Bowl because of that offensive line. And if that offensive line is falling apart, then there are structural and foundational issues that could be big-time issues long-term, in my opinion.
You bet on this Wednesday. Adam Lefko, Turner Sports, big show, podcast with Shaquille O'Neal as well, with us here on Twitter at Adam Lefko. Now, I know you're taking a little break from sports betting, and this is not me trying to be like, hey, jump back. I mean that sincerely. That's great that you're doing that. If I gave you $100 and I can give you the prices if you'd like to win the Super Bowl, and I said, listen, you just, who do you like if I give you $100? Seattle 3, Rams 320, Bills 550, Patriots 6, Denver 750, Texans 850, Bears 14, Niners 20. You are like I'll say it, the future's God, GAWD. Here's $100. Nah, yeah, well, listen, you did hit that parlay. Who would you bet and why?
Okay, so there's the first part where you go, who do you think's going to win? And then there's a second part where you go, who's got some good value to it? Seahawks are 1, Rams are 2. My real gut instinct, the team, I think it might be the Rams year. I think that they have the D-line. I think they have the quarterback. I think they have the wide receivers. That offensive line did scare me, but I feel like they can go into Seattle and get that win. I do lean to a team in the NFC having success. Read me those again. Seahawks are 1, Rams were 2 at 3:30.
Buffalo's the third choice, Patriots 4th, then Denver, Houston, Chicago, and San Francisco. San Francisco, the longest shot.
What's Denver?
Denver is plus 750.
Plus 750 for the number 1 seed in the AFC is a pretty damn good value for a phenomenal defense, for a quarterback that doesn't need to do too much, a really good offensive line, and a coach that's won it all. And that if you do get there, like the thing with the Broncos is they've come back from deficits. They did it against the Eagles. They did it against your Giants in dramatic fashion. Bo does have the ability to run and move. It is the year 2 in an offensive system, which is typically when quarterbacks take a jump and have made runs to the Super Bowl, i.e., I think Burrow did that. I think Hurts did that. I think Mahomes did that. That's a very interesting value. The fact that you get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And I mean, I don't know. Are you that much higher on the Patriots than you are the Broncos? Like if it was Patriots at Broncos, who you taking?
I think I would take, if the Patriots defense plays like it did on Sunday night against the Chargers, I'd take New England. But I guess we're not going to know until we see how they play on Sunday against the Houston Texans, right?
But Drake May is
you take Drake May over Bo Nix.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. But like the Patriots' weakness is running the football, and like the Chargers don't have an offensive line. You know what I mean? So like they're not the best indicator for me, especially like, man, playing in Foxborough is, man, you got the other team's mind in a blender. I just think it's value, but I would lean towards the Rams right now to win it all. I'm curious where you stand on those.
I'm with the Rams also.
Okay.
I had your Eagles, but I was consistent. I think those are the best 2 teams in the league. I would have bet the Eagles if the Eagles had hosted the Rams. We're not going to get that opportunity. Obviously, Philly got bounced, so I will, like, the Eagles were my number 1 choice. The Rams are my number 2, but I'll say the LA Rams also with you, Lefko.
It's so interesting with Seattle where I always experience this in the betting world where I guess they have to make it that number, but I don't know. Someone like you, me, like I would never put money on that team in the playoffs.
You don't trust the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't trust the quarterback. I feel like the offense, I've seen it get stagnant at times. Like that defense in that environment can take over any game. They really can. The scary thing is that 2 of their division mates are still in the playoffs. And 2 of those division mates that have had success. Now, the Niners didn't have success the last time, but I thought Rams-Seahawks was the flukiest game of the season. And I left watching that game going, I think the Rams got screwed over by a rule I've never seen before. That backwards fumble that turned into a touchdown.
The 2-point conversion, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like that's always an incomplete pass. There were so many plays in that game that felt fluky to me where I was like, the Rams were the better team the entire game. And I would take the Rams.
I think a lot of people will agree with you if we get that matchup on Championship Sunday with the Rams and the Seahawks in Seattle. Last one for you here. We got about 2 minutes. So I mentioned the big podcast with Shaquille O'Neal, and I would encourage everyone to follow that podcast on Instagram, Lefko on Instagram. The posts from this show, like Lefko's great and Shaq's really funny and the guests are great. Like the clips are sensational. Just had Tom Brady on the show. Like I watched a lot of those clips. They were great. What is the coolest thing that you've done in your association with Shaq on that show or otherwise? In about 2 minutes here to wrap.
So I didn't realize it was cool until a year later, but I knew it was cool because my wife thought it was cool. And this is going to sound weird on this show, but Kerry Washington came to, so we would do the shows in Shaq's like basement, but his basement is like a basketball court that was turned into a hookah lounge. And because it's at Shaq's house, it's called the Shahookah Lounge. And Kerry Washington was on the show. And my wife was like, I'm coming. Scandal was my favorite show of all time. So my wife flew down with me. We went to Shaq's house. His chef like made us like some breakfast, right? And then Shaq was early for the only time we've ever done the podcast, and he was wearing a freshly ironed pink polo shirt. And Kerry Washington came in and she like hung out with my wife for like 5 minutes. And then we did the show, and I was like, I gotta be honest, Kerry, I've never seen Scandal. And everyone in the room went, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, like I've never seen it. And I would say in the last 6 months, I've watched 5 seasons of Scandal, and I cannot believe that I interviewed Olivia Pope. Like, that is so crazy. So I didn't realize it till later. But I'll wrap it up like this. Same thing I experienced with Tom Brady. The coolest thing about interviewing people with Shaq is they show Shaq of them that I would never see and that we would never see. Because with Shaq, they're kind of like, what the hell am I doing here with Shaq? And when he asks them a question, you get that real guttural truth, not like that PR marketing truth, because they're hanging out with Shaq and that's really cool for them too.
You're the best. At Adam Lefko on Twitter. Check it. I don't disagree. Mutual Admiration Society. TNT coming up this Saturday. Anchors all of Turner Sports coverage. Like, we'll do this next. I
want to do this before the Roland Garros, the French Open.
Hell yeah. Are you going to be in San Francisco?
For what?
Super Bowl.
Oh, for the Super Bowl? I'm going to be there Thursday, Friday.
We'll try and wrangle you, but please continue with what you were saying, that you'd like to come back on the show because we would love to.
Yeah, I want to come back here to do Roland Garros. If you saw the video of me fist pumping because Coco Gauff won, it's because I had a parlay of Coco Gauff and Yannick Sinner, and then Alcaraz absolutely changed everything. But no, I want to try and put in some winners.
You're the best, dude, and I'll say it. I won't ask you to comment on this. You're on a trajectory, man, professionally, to go down as like the GOAT, maybe doing studio coverage. You're awesome. I love it. Wow. Appreciate you coming on the show. Hope to see you in the Bay Area, my friend. Our friend Adam Lefko here on You Better You Bet. One of the nicest guys, one of the most talented guys, and also apparently like the future's god with sports betting. I will attempt to give you some winners for tonight right now. Kenny, please drop the dope ass beat. All right. Limited time here for the bets, and maybe a good thing given I had the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night against the Houston Texans. One NBA bet that I'm eyeing for tonight is the Philadelphia 76ers against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Philly's a 1.5-point home favorite. I have to be honest, like, I don't trust the Cavs this year. Embiid's going to play. For me, I like Philly better than Cleveland 1-for-1, so you're going to give me like a short money line price. I'll lay the Philadelphia 76ers against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And one bet in college basketball, Purdue is a 10.5-point home favorite against Iowa. Now, Iowa's point guard, Bennett Sturtz, if he can control games, then Iowa has a good chance to beat basically anybody. I don't see that happening against Braden Smith and Purdue. I will lay the 10.5 with Purdue against Iowa. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to our crew. I'll catch everybody tomorrow on a tremendous Football Thursday. Until then, I'm Nick Kostos wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck. Black and Abdallah coming up next here on Westwood One Sports.